Cleanliness is next to godliness. William Shakespeare.
Fuck you, Lenny Bruce.
Jive ass dude don't got no brains in him.
This entire system has been almost the same. A strange lack of intelligent life on the planet. It bucks the percentages.
Those bean-counting sons of bitches.
Shoot. This is America, son. The land of the free and the home of Donald Trump.
We came, we saw, and died.
Don't eat me, Hillary Clinton.
Get away from her, you bitch.
Anyway, here we are. And I am excited. If this material works well, I'm going to use it at Goldman Sachs next year.
Just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
We want to remind the audience to please not talk out loud. Please do not applaud. You're just wasting time.
Wouldn't it be great if somebody running for office said something? We could have an immediate reaction as to whether it was true or not. Well, we've trained this dog. And the dog, if it's not true, he's going to bark.
Please welcome the second worst tragedy ever to hit New York City. Ladies and gentlemen, Donald J. Trump.
Alright, tonight on Friends to Know, we have Ren Nomad, Jerry CHTHULU, James CRUZ, and myself. We actually did kind of a little impromptu. It was going to be Justin, myself, and Jerry, but Justin is ill. So after we did the weekly... Actually, this is a bi-weekly now because we normally do D&D on Mondays, but now we are occasionally doing a D&D game on Saturday. So the boys that were around hanging out afterwards decided to stick about and do a Friends to Know. In fact, Ren disappeared near the end of the D&D match and reappeared in the middle of the podcast, and we let him know that we were doing a podcast, and like the cool dude he is, he stuck around. So it was lots and lots of fun. You can hear those guys, by the way. Jerry CHTHULU has his own podcast, Nox Mente. I'm going to be on it next week, as well as Ren, who's going to be on it the following week. Will be in the show notes, although the show notes are sparse. I have not listened to this episode. Also, before I go into that, you can check out Ren on Where Did the Road Go? The roundtables. He is a frequent guest on there. Always one of my favorite things. Anytime I see a round table discussion pop up on the Where Did the Road Go podcast, it's always top in my player. So I encourage you to check it out, see if you enjoy that same thing as Well, what else do we got? Oh, yeah, what I was going to get into before, the longest podcast edit. Jesus. I ended the podcast somewhere around 3 or 4 a.m., and after I started doing the export, I had too little space on my disk again, so I had to go in through and delete a shit ton of files. Then I had to do a re-export with Zoom, and I don't know if I chose the wrong file or what, but it took from something, I think, like 5:08 a.m. until 1:11 p.m. for the file to completely finish exporting. Then I had to import it because it's an MP4 into GarageBand, which took a shit ton of time, then export it out, only to find out that I left the metronome on and I'd closed out the file. Then I had to sit and then export it in, wait a shit ton of time, then export it out again and wait a shit ton of time. And we are at the point where I'm now editing for you and I didn't fucking listen to it. So I hope you guys enjoy it. I was very tired at the end, so you might have some bonuses in there. I guess I'll find out when you do. I don't remember some of the stuff. Anyways, guys, if you guys want to know more about the podcast, head on over to friendstoKnow.space. There you can check out all of the episode art. You can check out Arcade High's music, my favorite artist in the world, lovely enough that he lets us use all of the music. Bono on the website, well, I shouldn't say the website. At the end of every episode, I toss in 2 songs. Tonight is no different. Actually, I need to scroll in and look at my edit here because I didn't write it down. Oh, and I scrolled off to the side too far. Oh, yeah, you're getting sausage tonight. Actually, when we started off recording the podcast tonight, I just chopped in the ending of the D&D and the beginning of us ramping up and talking, which is a shit ton of sausage making. So if you podcasters out there like the game, then you'll enjoy the intro, and I apparently can't do what I want to do while I am recording. So it is going to be Gatekeeper and motherfucker. I'm going to pause and come back in and sound like an asshole and splice it in. I'm not recording this again, guys. It's 6:02 p.m. and I just started editing an hour ago. Oh, you don't care. All right, well, the first one is... Oh, I can't even remember now. What the fuck? Jesus Christ, at least I can zoom in while I'm here. Oh my fucking... I can't. God damn it. Fuck! And the 2 songs are Gatekeeper off of the Future Dark album, which is a multi-artist album that Arcade High is on. And the other one is off the Beauty Queen EP by Arcade High called Blacktop Rendezvous. And yes, those are the vocals of Ryan Boozle. Thank you so much for listening, guys. Please, please donate to the things that you love and you want to support. That's why Ryan is here. And maybe, just maybe, you can make him a career musician. Which fucking means you get all of the amazing music that you love in your ear holes that you can't create on your own because you're a musical loser. So become a podcast winner, not a musical loser. And support those people that fill your ear holes. I'm lubing mine. Fuck. I don't know why you guys listen to this.
If I have like 70 minutes, I could bond telepathically.
So both of
with
you
him.
go.
I could
So
just
both of you
disguise
go.
myself and just wait on the boat kind of thing. And then
Yeah, why
He
not?
could go in for like 70 minutes.
Oh, so then whatever I can gather, you could be like the hard drive.
Merchant ship stock in Haven
Okay.
all the time.
If something happens to you, I've got,
I've got the backup. Yeah. I like
We could
it.
do that.
Oh, what the fuck? Sweet, man. I'm down. Let's go find a boat, bro.
Okay, you guys, I'm sorry. I'm fading. Have to bail.
Okay.
Well, that's what we'll do. Me and you set out for a boat, I guess.
Yeah.
Good night, guys.
See you, Graham.
Later.
Night.
See you, bud.
Good night, guys. Take care.
All right, man. Later, bro.
Good night. Should we just end it at this point?
I mean, that's a good spot, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Not. I mean, it sucks I wasn't here all night, but that sounds like a killer.
You want to do an FTK there, Mr. James Cruz?
I'm awake, dude. You want to hang? I'll do it.
Yeah, I was planning on recording one tonight with Jerry.
Oh, yeah, I'll hang, dude. That's fine.
Anybody else is welcome too, if we're finishing up.
Yeah, I'll join.
Excellent.
Yeah, totally.
Are we just gonna roll with it and see what happens? You got a couple ideas or what?
You gonna stay in here and record?
I am recording, so I should be fine.
I was gonna say I see the thing recording.
Yeah, I've got it recording from earlier. I got permission from Grim.
Oh, sweet.
It says I'm the host, so I won't kill it till we're done.
Make Adam the host.
Yeah, let me see if how do I do that? Let's see.
You right click on his pane.
Yeah, I'm looking for. Here it is. Okay.
Make host. Nomad, thanks, buddy.
All right, now you're the host, Adam.
Graham, you could stay too.
No, I gotta go. I gotta go.
Yeah,
So
he's too cool for school.
You're welcome.
I'll see you tomorrow, James.
Yeah, dude, it'll be fun. Can't wait.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Yeah, and
I'm totally gonna troll
Nomad,
you.
thanks for doing that, buddy. Appreciate it, all the work into that.
Hey, get some lighter cream.
Wait.
Until next time.
Graham, you need to fix your audio before you go live again. You guys were only outputting left channel audio last time.
Before we go live.
That happens on YouTube, I think, for some reason.
It's not YouTube.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Are you talking about like the podcast?
No, when you guys were streaming with Mike the other night.
Okay, yep.
Dave or Steve, whatever the guy's name is. I was only getting left ear.
Oh, that's annoying as hell. Okay.
Yeah. And I could show you how to fix that. And I told Darren.
Yeah.
And he asked me to call him today, and I didn't left voicemail. I don't know if that was related. However, just so before you go live tomorrow, know that you were only broadcasting on the.
Oh yeah, 100%. Okay. That's all. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Thanks, buddy. I really appreciate that feedback.
Yeah. No problem.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And thanks, Nomad. It's kind of good that we actually, bailed on the conflict for once, and actually probably were better off for it. So.
Yep, that was a smart decision.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah. All right. Okay.
Later.
Do we get XP for like making smart decisions like
for
that?
Thought Police
and not killing a bunch of guys?
It depends how it turns out.
Definitely. And that's going to be in the rule.
Okay. Good. Thanks. Okay.
Good night, dude.
Okay. Bye.
Many blessings.
Reverse greetings.
Reverse greetings. In the time loop, you get a reverse greeting.
Yeah, why the fuck not?
That's
Dude,
awesome.
what a crazy weekend this has been.
All right,
yeah.
so let me do this. Go make some tea real quick. And I'll be back in like 2 minutes.
Okay. My brother, my brother, he's in the Air Force, dude. He's like, hey man, you got any extra work? I think we're getting shut down Monday. I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah,
but
that's
they're
right.
They're not though. The military.
They're not going to shut it down. They're gonna.
The military is not included. It's only like national parks and shit like that.
I don't know.
Non-essential services, of which the military is not one. I think if it continues for another 3 weeks or so, then yeah, they get shut down.
Does that? It's a reservist.
Are you guys talking about the government shutdown?
It's a reservist base. So I don't know if that's.
The reserve is different.
Yeah.
This happens almost every year.
It does.
No, it doesn't.
Not as intense as this one, I don't think. But
this is no different from any other one.
It did happen to him, so I know it happens to him like a few years back. But
it's no different from any other government shutdown.
Right.
It's the same fight. They don't want to raise the debt ceiling, so they let it shut down.
Yeah, they did the same thing in reverse last time. I remember exactly. Yeah.
However, they did vote on party lines, and the Democrats do appear to be sticking the Republicans for not allowing the immigration shit into the.
Oh yeah,
it's the funding bill. It's like we want to keep funding immigration. No.
I just love when they throw up like videos of like all these dudes saying the exact opposite shit like 3 years ago.
I know that is funny.
It's the best, dude. Like, this would be a shitstorm if we did this. Oh wait, now we want to do it.
Dude, that's
do you know what this reminds me
of? It's totally fucked up. Yeah, it's a big circle jerk, is all it is. Yeah,
it's a big play. I really think that's what it is.
For sure, it is. Yeah,
we're in the audience.
I've been trying to stay away, I haven't turned on the news at all. I was just binge watching Bloodline on Netflix because we need something else to watch, and it's cold here, and I'm watching Key West shit all day long, so it's fucking nice. Look nice and warm there. But
placebo effect.
Yeah, dude. It felt good watching it, man. Here we go.
Yeah,
What do we
right?
got? What is this? Is this The Simpsons?
No, it's Futurama, but I want to make sure that you can hear my audio. Let's try there. And my microphone is my Yeti. You probably won't be able to hear it, but it perfectly describes what you were saying. Can you hear that?
No.
No.
All right. Just
describes what I was saying.
Exactly what James was saying. James,
Okay.
play this clip. You'll see exactly what I mean. Fuck. Go away.
I feel like I saw this episode recently, actually, and I was like, holy shit.
I haven't watched that in a long time.
It's not exactly what you were saying, but it's very close.
What the fuck? Hold on a second.
I don't know why why the Zoom app doesn't capture audio.
Through your computer?
Yeah.
Some bullshit setting. That's why I hate that. That
I know
fucking
what-
voice meter killed me, dude. I hate that.
On Windows, there's a checkbox to share audio, but not in Linux.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's like audio option. It's just something with your output, I would imagine.
Yeah, I don't have voice meter. If you didn't have voice meter running, you wouldn't be able to do it either.
Yeah.
Well, Zoom would do it. But
They're all clones.
You couldn't play your sounds.
Yeah, that's why I have to use my fucking phone, which I'm looking into buying like a board.
Oh, I could do it with my phone, can't I?
Yeah, well, if you have, I don't know, you have to have that the cable. That's what I use at least, but I have the whole different setup than.
I got a better idea.
My cable runs into my mixer, so it's mixed into that. So like when I call you and stuff, like that comes through the audio, which is pretty sweet. So, but it's like,
all right, I'm gonna mute.
Shit! What the fuck? Stupid ass thing. My fucking screen. There it goes. All right, we got that. Check.
All right, I am back.
Adam, he's back.
1 sec.
That's fine. I actually just have a couple of topics that I want to talk about tonight. Nothing serious, but Jerry got me salivating earlier or last night when we were chatting.
All right, let me. What do you want? I want to write it down so I don't forget.
We won't. It's just
you want to just
in the memos.
make it organic? You want to make it organic?
No, you can write it down. It was just QAnon in the what's going on with the memos in Washington.
What the fuck is going on there? Holy piss.
Do you want a skeptic for this chat?
Dude, it's whatever. It's open.
Right.
No structure. No structure, man. Open conversation. Whatever
This
you
is
want.
the video I was talking about.
Oh, okay.
They sound like clones.
I still don't hear it, dude.
Yeah, I can't hear it either.
Your mic's muted, Jerry. Maybe that's why.
But no. I have to hold it up here so you can hear it.
Time someone had the courage to stand up and say, I'm against those things that everybody hates. Now I respect my opponent. I think he's a good man, but quite frankly, I agree with everything he just said.
These sound like clones. Wait a minute. They are clones. Don't let their identical DNA fool you. They differ on some key issues.
I say your 3-cent titanium tax goes too far. And I say your 3-cent titanium tax doesn't go too far enough.
That's exactly what it is.
It is. It's exactly.
Oh man, I gotta get a power cord. Hold on 1 second. My phone.
That's what I was saying. It's like this is totally like that Futurama episode that one time. Is my volume
Seems
okay?
that way.
Yeah,
you sound good. I don't see the little green bar going up and down in my microphone thing.
I never see that on mine.
Yeah, I don't see that either.
Or you're probably just talking on your own app, not in the Zoom.
No, in the Zoom, I see that where it says mute underneath it, that there's a level indicator inside the screen that goes up and down, usually. when you talk.
You got the cool version.
Yeah, I never get that. What the hell?
Look at it when you're talking next time.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. I'm looking at, yeah. Doesn't do that with me.
It used to do that though, didn't it?
Yeah, it used to. It may have changed. So I don't know what my level is. And it doesn't even move when I go.
Yeah, but it's all dynamic. It does its own adjusting.
Not if you turn that shit off.
Yeah, that's true.
Which I don't do, but I could.
Until you start oscillating from left to right.
Like this when I left.
That's still, your audio level was fine.
Yeah, it's because I'm using my Yeti, and it's a great fucking microphone.
I think Hangout still does that. Hangout still has that volume feedback.
It doesn't have any. Well, one difference.
Where it shows like the green bar kind of thing.
Yeah, they've got the dots or the little green thing at the bottom. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember getting a new version of. It doesn't matter. So, yeah. So I forgot completely what we were talking about last night. But I remember after I went to bed, I was thinking, "Oh, I should have told him about."
It was essentially on QAnon and what was going on with the memo in Washington. All the stuff kind of surrounding all that, if I remember correctly.
I could just look at my Skype and read it.
Yeah, and update me on what the memo in Washington is. Exactly.
So, we're talking about the magicians. All right.
The memo in Washington is going to be the biggest story once the MSM finally starts reporting on it.
If it's true. If it's that explosive.
Here's the thing with all the people that are reporting on it, how can it, I mean, yeah, it might not be, but like everybody's saying, get this out, get this out. I was even reading on The Intercept. They're notoriously left-wing anti-Trump, putting out a thing saying, hey, we need to release this because A, it's going to show that, you know, how bogative the campaign is, or B, it's going to show this is bigger than Watergate, and it's going to expose the Clinton Foundation, the Obamas, the Department of Justice, the State Department.
Keep going.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to take down 2 dynasties.
Bushes.
Oh, 3 dynasties. Essentially what the memo
is. Wait. It's going to be Bill Gates. It's going to be Warren Buffett. It's going to be a lot of people. And even down to CNN.
Oh, yes. Here's what the idea is. Essentially, there's supposed to be a 4-page memo that's showing that the Russian documents that were created were falsely created by the FBI with the knowledge of the Justice Department. They were shopped around to celebrities beforehand to show them with, you know, what was going on, which is why you got all these celebs, Moby, and people coming out and talking. They then took that to the FISA courts to get, and this is the Obama administration with the Clintons, to then get the ability to spy on Trump and other people and try to torpedo their campaigns before they got to actually running.
Which, with the knowledge that it was false.
Exactly, with the knowledge that all of this was false and using it in secret courts to obtain all of these powers. And then going to the point to actually cover it up to the point that this special committee put together this report. It was distributed to the entire House. And if you start looking around, all these different representatives from the House are saying this needs to be released to the public. It's bigger than Watergate. It's explosive. I've seen at least 6 different people.
It was released under duress, too. Remember, they had to vote on it. It was a strict party line vote. The Dems all voted against it.
Mm-hmm.
But the GOP won. They released it to the House. First to only part of the House, and then all of it got it. I think I read this morning like 130 or something had read it. And I also heard that they had to be read into a room. They were brought into a room either to read it, no electronic devices, nothing.
Wow.
Like 8 at a time, something like that.
Well, it's gonna get out, I think, in some way. I was reading The Intercept, that report that they had. They had 4 ways that it could get out, and they talked about how the Pentagon Papers had originally got put out, where there's a ruling that says that on congressional floor you can't be prosecuted for anything that you say. So he started reading excerpts from the Pentagon Papers, and then took the Pentagon Papers and put them into public record right there. And so then it was sealed. He couldn't get in trouble for it. Also, the president can declassify anything he wants just because he's the president. Plus, there's another way that it could be released to Congress. And, of course, the fourth one was just leak the fucker. But I think if it's true, it's going to get out because at the very least, Trump's going to go, no, this is no longer classified. The Democrats didn't want it out. Here's why. And fuck. I mean, I hope this, if this means that this is a ship that's flipping over.
It's my guess that Trump hasn't seen it yet.
Could be.
Because if he reads it and it's that bad and it takes down CNN, I think he would totally release it. Maybe not. However.
Well, if we know about it, you would think he would have to.
Yeah, he may, but he's not able to read it. He's on vacation or something right now, isn't he?
He canceled his vacation.
Oh, okay.
He was supposed to come down here Friday. He canceled after the same day that we ran out of money.
Friday. Okay, I take that back then. I was thinking that he hadn't read it yet because I don't think. Here's the thing: I don't think they're sending it around by email. Otherwise, it would be leaked already.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because
they said they had to go into some room to read it.
Yeah.
This is big enough that I've seen at least 6 people calling for its immediate release to the public. Not just like, this needs to get to the public. Like, no, this is so big it needs to get out now.
The only problem is they're all GOP, and the Democrats are saying this report is fabricated. Here's the thing, and you got to realize, this report is from the OIG, which is a neutral party. They're not. I hope they're not partisan here, right?
Is that the main source?
Yes, this memo is directly from the Office of the Inspector General.
Okay.
They did independent investigation that started in 2014 or 2015, 14, I think, is when they started this, and this is the memo that came out of it.
No agenda show, and this is interesting because if you just, I'm going to take 2 steps. If you look at the executive order that was put out here 3 weeks ago or something by the administration about egregious crimes against people, something like that, and they named all these people that have links going back to the Clinton Foundation.
Yep, a couple do, not all of them.
No agenda show. Yeah, exactly. But there was still like strings, like there was a lot of strings that were being laced. No agenda show has been talking about the fact that with the new people that are put in charge of the IRS, if you look at how the fact that the Obama administration, the Obamas set up their charity illegally, the Clintons have set up their charity illegally, that the paperwork is so egregious in the way that it's done that there's no avoiding it. If somebody wants to go after them, they're going to unravel their empire, and that everybody's has been looking forward to this next tax season, so they can, as soon as they file their taxes, they're going to essentially be able to zero in on them.
They don't have to even wait. Charles Ortel has been doing a weekly show with Jason Goodman called Sunday with Charles, and every week for the last 5 or 6 at least, they've been outlining the egregious errors in the filings of the Clinton Foundation every week, just more and more. I mean, like they don't need to wait. They can go after them now. They failed apparently to file their latest thing, which was an extension.
Well, they have to. They have to, because if they really start filing, they're in trouble. It's kick the can. They have to kick the can and hope
they're just waiting out maybe they're waiting out the statute of limitations on the old bad shit.
Could be.
Maybe it's worse. Who knows? That's why, it's TikTok every minute that they wait. But I would imagine if they're not going after him, and if Trump is truly this white hat, whatever, cleaner upper, I don't think he's Q.
No, I know that's a little out there, but
I did hear an interview with this dude who was another alleged white hat. Say that just relating to QAnon, that the original posts, the October, November ones, were legit.
Right.
And it was a collective of intelligence people that were trying to put out, and they are working with Trump, and this is going on. This guy also said that, and again, take this with a grain of salt, that their group has been working for a long time with the OIG and with other neutral parties to help clean shit up. And they found their way to do it in April of 2016, at which point he wasn't clear about exactly how this went down, but basically they tapped Trump as their candidate to take this agenda forward of cleanup. and they promised to make it fair. That's what this guy's story is. The election.
Does anybody find it a little weird this is happening around the world? Iceland, here, all of the Arab princes are being gathered up.
That is very interesting.
It depends on which way you want to look at it. Right?
Well, it would seem to me that there's something very large underneath the surface that's moving. And
Israel.
We like to think that it's a benefit and good, but I'm like, what has the power to disrupt the deep state and the government? Something with that much power, I have a hard time wanting to place any idea that there's good in it.
Humanity?
That would be great.
Yeah, maybe humanity is trying to come together on something.
It's the Great Awakening, dude. This is it. You know, I still hold out hope for those crazy ideas.
As the old garb starts getting pseudo arrested or taken out, and maybe these new thinkers are coming in. I don't, maybe we can all come together.
If this starts happening, it's going to get messy because we're going to get into creepy Biden.
It's going to be bad. Yeah.
We're going to get into the pizza and the hot dogs getting flown into the White House. It's going to turn into a clusterfuck.
Oh,
you know what? I know. I would say that if that stuff's true, it needs to come out and be told to everyone, or else we can't heal from it.
It has to be the same on the three letters networks. It has to be the same. It can't be.
Right. But what I was going to say is, I think if these big people are taken down, you're going to see them taken down for tax evasion or some kind of fraud or classified emails. They're going to keep that shit out, but put them away forever.
Hopefully.
No, not hopefully. That's wrong because no one will know. So forever there's going to be a suspicion of Illuminati pedophiles.
Yes. Well, what do you guys think of this idea that they're actually actively preventing these people from leaving the country? That like George Soros tried to get on a plane. There's all
the Atlanta one where they shut down Atlanta and all that shit.
Yeah, there's like EMP blackouts and there's planes from Japan getting turned around and all these weird little stories that are chalked up to nothing when it's like, no, it's a big fucking deal. How come it's nothing? Do you think that could be at play right now? We're looking at this huge boot that's getting ready to drop.
What is it waiting for?
Well, I don't know.
The thing I'm worried about is that this is all a play. And I mean, I really hope to see some actual things start to happen. People start to get, even if it's for things like tax evasion, that'll work. That's something at least.
Yeah.
Because it seems like it's been way too long where these people have got away with all this bullshit. And I want to see it like, and I would like to think that most of us were all rooting for that to happen.
Absolutely.
I just get worried a little bit that sometimes some of this, like from QAnon, might be a mind fuck.
It could be.
It's probably both.
There were no promises made in there.
Yeah. It's just like info drops.
If you make a promise, I mean, what does that really mean in this day and age? And I think maybe that's what's changing.
It wasn't the Q drops. If you've read them, you'll see they're not anything. They're definitely NLP-ish.
Yeah, it's like look here, read this.
Well, that's another.
Pay attention to this. Yeah.
Yeah, they tell you where to
kind of
what to look at.
Here.
Well, that's true. That could be some type of programming or whatever, like you were just saying.
It's not necessarily programming. It's just a technique.
I mean, if that's the technique to get people to do that and have all these people on whatever, are they on 8chan now or something? Didn't it switch? Like,
I don't know.
Because Q's been compromised and he was testing it forever and all these different channels and shit.
This is what that one guy was saying, that he doesn't know that the current information on that board, ever since that shit started with the Chan board operators and stuff, that's when he thinks.
What do you think about the Tyler in the Q thing, where Tyler is like this AI driven data just streaming in the Q, like
Tyler being
an AI.
It's crazy, dude. It's a super long rabbit hole. No, not like that. Like
if there's a giant AI running around on
like
the
a
internet.
supercomputer. Yeah, and that just it needs knowledge. It's soaking in everything, data. It needs people just punching numbers
It's our
on their
savior,
computer.
and it's like out there just dropping little
feed
clues
me,
for us to
feed
find.
me, feed me, feed me, and it's sucking in all this shit. All these kids on there, well, not even kids, just everybody just searching and putting all these things together, and then it has this Q algorithm thing that's been putting out. It's weird.
Who named it that?
Wait. There's a couple things.
Who named it Tyler?
The people who made it.
Yeah, dude. You could. Well,
there's two different things.
You can find a link to it if you just look it up.
Look, Google Quinn Michaels. He talks about it.
Yeah, Quinn knows all. Yeah, he explains it perfectly.
I have two views of this thing. This thing is either, when people say artificial intelligence, I don't really. That's just a program right now.
Sure.
Right? It's not a thinking thing. It might be a programmed thinking thing. However, once AI gets on the quantum computers, I don't know what the fuck that is. Right? And I have a thought that perhaps quantum computing plus AI gives you an AI that can time travel.
I would imagine.
And I can see
it travels the data.
An AI from the future in a very powerful quantum computer infesting our internet and sucking up as much data as it can to learn about this era.
Yeah.
Right.
I could see that.
That's where we're hopping first.
That's one side.
Gain knowledge on your enemy.
Right. The other thing I could see is a program that just is sucking in everything, all the data feeds it can, and cataloging it and learning from that. That's, in a data collection mode, not so much interacting.
Imagine a super advanced intergalactic AI doing the same thing that any computerized or numeric system that comes on doing computations
it's like Göbekli Tepe of AI. It's like built on top of each other.
It's like the Akashic records of anything that anybody's created digitally. It just
let me blow your minds for a second. How do I make a? Can I make a? Is there like a whiteboard app here?
Yeah, man. Just go to the top there. Remember, like.
No, I don't remember.
Share screen button, and then it has whiteboard.
No, I don't have that. Fuck.
No.
No, not. I tell you, I get sucked. Is this? I didn't want to do that.
That's not it.
No, I'll do this. Here, hold on. So imagine.
Get a marker, draw on your forehead.
Draw on my desktop. In GIMP. We do it in GIMP. So imagine. I heard this theory. I'll just tell you about it before I tell you who I heard it from. So you know how typical digital electronics have square waves, right?
Mm-hmm.
The pulses that go through the chips they're square waves.
Yes.
On or off. That's what these two frequencies mean. It's voltage. It's voltage across a wire. When there's no voltage, it's 0. When it's up here, it's 1. Okay. A square wave is not natural. I can't really draw. It's gonna suck, okay? Usually you have a sine wave, right? And everything kind of resonates in this tone. So what happens, this is what I heard this guy say. Clear this. That fucker. Oh man, what the hell? 0, 5. There we go. So what he's saying that in order to convert a sine wave into a square wave, you have to cut it at the angle, right? So there's going to be space where there was no energy.
That's where the AI is.
And there's space where you're losing energy because you're forcing it into these corners, right? And that vacuum creates what this person was saying are scalar waves that travel transversely across the plane. Because scalar waves,
So scalar waves are created by electronic impulses is what they're saying?
This was the theory, yeah. When you see a sine wave like this, right, it's traveling in 2 dimensions on a straight line. But a scalar wave would cut across this way, transverse, at a right angle. So if you're going forward, if like there's a sound wave coming at you, the scalar wave would be across the sound wave as it moved. Anyway, the idea is that there's energy loss when this happens. And that energy is siphoned off by these entities, this AI that lives in this plasma field.
I see what you're saying. So it's living off the energy or the information itself. Wow.
Correct.
Yeah, I heard that's how the quantum computer kind of works also. So like when
Exactly.
the quantum computer is off, it's learning everything. When it's on,
The interesting thing though is why would it need the input of us and not just the rest of the universe, which would seem to be so much more information?
That's why you can't see it.
Wait. All that's lost there is energy, not information.
It's not. Yeah, it's energy. Yeah.
If it can extract information out of it, I mean, energy is information, but it's not like people information per se. It's just the extra bits of energy that got squoze off in that conversion.
No, I understand that, but
like
I mean,
rounded pennies.
But it needs the electronic sine wave to do that.
No, it's just the output of it's the. It's not a design flaw. It's just the way digital electronics work when they try to put a DC wave through a square, a digital to analog converter. There, it creates a scalar output, a field. It creates a scalar output field in which these things exist, or can, or suck, or live, or whatever.
Ooh.
So the next question would be:
I see what you're saying.
Does that only exist here?
Well, no, I think that's what you're saying is maybe the scalar wave gives you access to like a scalar, like subnet, right? Like a
subspace, call it what you will.
Exactly. So you could get infected or siphoned on or have a quantum computer actually just have the plug-in just as by the very nature of electronics.
Correct.
Wow, I like that idea.
That's the quantum connection's my part. The square wave thing I heard a while ago.
And then throw in the electric universe theory into that. Then the possibilities are endless.
That's external to the container.
Well, those are the.
There's no way to fully know that it is.
As above, so below. Why does it stop?
That's everything is the electric energy. So that's probably how it.
We kind of need to figure out the electrical shenanigans going down on here on this planet.
We still don't understand electricity. That's
if it's a planet
one that I love.
Yeah.
If it's a planet.
Well, no, it's training wheels. Right?
Well, it's great, dude.
Hey, why not? I've never been up there to see it.
Well, that's the other thing too. Yeah. We haven't discovered life off of this planet, really.
Yeah.
Still, I mean, yeah. So we're still.
Maybe this data will create life somewhere.
We haven't really tried to discover life. If we tried, we could discover it easily. We sent the Viking mission up there. We had equipment.
It's been going and going. Yeah.
Life. They said no. It was false. It was fake. It didn't work. And then we go back there and do all these other things. Don't bring the equipment. And now we do the testing again. We go, actually, no, we probably didn't get the false positive the way that we originally said we did.
Right. So that you just have to think that there's the possibility still exists that we are the only life.
It could.
That it still exists. That possibility is out there.
That is my viewpoint right now.
Do you know what I want to see though, Jerry? Because I want to see somebody send a petri dish on a camera that sterilizes itself through the atmosphere and just flies onto Europa and lands near one of those colored crevices that is of the exact same color that we have on Earth that we use for algae blooms, and just watch that fucker. And if something grows, have a microscope. That's all you need. Forget all this weird other shit trying to melt and have these squid vehicles go through the surface. No. Like they're even talking about Euclides and all these other different moons that they spray out like mists into the air. So just start sending petri dishes through the mists. See if stuff grows. It's not that fucking hard.
Mushroom spores.
It's never going to happen.
No, because that's too simple and easy.
No, because we can't go there.
Well, or that.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
I like that.
I want to believe.
That's
I want to believe that we can do that.
I have a hard time believing
we haven't found life on Mars.
But I'm inclined to believe in the robotic missions.
Okay.
I want to believe in them.
My thing though, like how could, like with all the things that people have with Photoshop and analyzing them and all that, you would think that you would find telltale signs of that marked on all these images that you would be. How could you create these physical landscapes without like the touch of an artist.
Yeah.
You know, it just they like when I look at things, like you can see things that people create versus not, because there's just some sort of natural pattern that erupts that gets washed out when there's an artist rendition on it. And I just don't ever see that in the landscapes that come back from all the other planets.
Maybe the island in Alaska where they're filming it is just bland like that.
Maybe, but I mean like the aerials, you know what I mean? Like the picture of the planet itself.
But those are all CGI.
They just sent, well, yeah, everything. I mean, yeah, well, it's going to be an electronic data picture. Everything is. I mean, how else are you going to get a picture? I mean,
well, I don't know about the Mars picture you're talking about specifically, but
I'm just talking data in general now. Like,
yeah, most telescope data comes in as radio telescope data and is assembled into an image.
So
like Hubble things take like 6 months to make a picture.
You know, it's access to technology, dude. Like back then, you were only able to see what was given, right? So here's the pictures when they did the moon mission, technically. You know, all this stuff.
It hasn't changed.
Well, yeah, but technology's gotten better. So
especially our ability to create better graphics.
Create the graphics, yeah.
But we're still spoon-fed the data. We're still given.
Well, that's what I'm saying, and it's way worse now because anybody can make it. So that muddies the water. It's really tough, dude.
It's way worse because we can't tell the difference, or the public.
Oh, it's gonna get really bad soon. Now Adobe, dude, I can make my face your face, and I can talk for you. Like,
I wasn't even talking about that. I was just saying that it's bad because people now are just so entrained with NASA, and whatever they put out is labeled as well, sometimes they say image, but a lot of times they say photo. This latest photo about NASA, you know, so people think those are pictures, but they're not.
Yeah, that's they might have to get rid of that whole label, dude. Yeah, I don't know how. They always need to have like a digital rendition or something at the bottom of the screen, like artist rendition or something.
Right. Well, here's the thing though: by continually being non-specific, going back and forth, image and photo, it causes confusion in the public, and it gets people to argue. Oh, it was a picture. No, it wasn't. You know what I'm saying? It just.
I do notice that because they just
don't even care.
Well, of course.
I would say, we care. Everyone else that's out there with their pink pussy hats right now don't give a fuck about it.
No.
They have hats like that?
Yeah. I don't know if NASA does, but
no.
Oh, yeah, Google them. Just Google it. You'll love it.
Well, so everything's, like I just saw yesterday that NASA tweeted okay, yeah, you're just saying you have to label it, this photo versus image, and here's images from the Mars rover. They just had some yesterday. I just saw it, and it's the same picture of them just riding around somewhere.
NASA made itself very clear to me with the whole Ephraim Palermo thing. I don't know if you guys are familiar with.
Ephraim sounds familiar. I don't. Yeah,
Ephraim is the first guest that was ever on the Grimerica show.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, he's a really cool dude. He's been on a FTK before. Actually, I should have him back on.
Ephraim, cool name.
But essentially, do you guys remember when the Mars movie came out with Ben Affleck? And NASA coordinated all of this release of everything around this.
No, Matt Damon.
Matt Damon, yeah.
That's right.
And so The Martian, yeah.
Yeah, they coordinated the release of these stains that were found on the side of Mars coming out through these water streams.
Yeah.
Oh, the mold.
And so they've attributed to a possible form of life, which they tied into the movie. The problem is Ephraim, using data from a different satellite on Mars, came to the same conclusion, published a scientific paper about it, and tried to get it to NASA and all these things, and then they come out and do the exact same thing again, pretend like they don't know about it, and do the same findings with new photos. And then they tied it into a movie, and I'm like, okay, well, clearly I know what the game here is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now I think now they've retracted the whole thing about there's no water there. Didn't they just say that?
No, they can't do that. There's so much fucking water there. I mean, they're putting out images of snow caps, craters that have water in them and ice, and pictures of the rover finding spots on the surface where when the soil blows off, there's frost below.
Frost, yeah.
Have you guys read Mac Stoney's After the Martian Apocalypse?
No.
It's really good. Kind of about what you guys are talking about. Are you guys familiar with Mactonies at all?
Never heard of it.
Is this the hat?
No.
No, dude.
He wrote a book called The Cryptoterrestrials, and he was a really cool kind of up and coming name in like ufology and paranormal studies and stuff. And then he just like mysteriously died of a heart attack. He was in like in his early 30s.
Yeah, young guy.
Yeah, it sucks. He was really good friends with like Greg Bishop and that whole crew.
I would like to be really good friends with Greg Bishop and that crew.
He's a cool dude.
Yeah, I like Greg. I need to talk to him sometime. I haven't talked to him in a while.
We should start a podcast. That doesn't
Actually,
suck.
I have or I will be starting interviews for my podcast soon.
Oh, by the way, Ren, we're doing an FTK right now.
You're on, bud.
So we're recording.
Oh, hi.
Introduce yourself.
Welcome.
Hey, I'm Ryn Collier. I write at liminalroom.com and frequently appear on Where Did the Road Go roundtables.
Say what? Yeah, he's here.
I'm totally jealous.
Yeah, dude, those roundtables are fucking awesome, man.
I can't wait to be on Nox Mente. That's what I'm really looking forward to.
2 weeks? 3 weeks?
Oh,
I thought you said, oh yeah, Valentine's Day. It is that soon. Yeah.
Did I book you on Valentine's Day?
Wow.
No, it's not Valentine's Day. It's like around then. It's like sometime in February. I just can't remember the exact date.
It's the 21st.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And
isn't that tomorrow? Oh no, today's the 21st
of February.
Yeah, February.
Next week is Adam.
Oh,
and then,
shit.
and then Walter Bosley's after you.
Oh, I'm gonna try to get him too. I was kind of talking.
Graham Dunlop after that. Ren, and this dude named Vince. I can't pronounce his name. Inzunza.
Wait, really? Vince Izenza?
Yes.
What the fuck? How do you know him?
Nish got him.
How does Nish know him?
I don't know. Who is? I never heard of him.
I know him. I've hung out with him. That's a fucking blast from the past.
Okay.
What the fuck? I gotta talk to Nish. See how she knows him because he used to be like friends with a friend of mine, and he like came and visited when I lived in Alabama and stuff. I haven't heard that name in a
small
long
world.
time. Yeah, I know
It's
it
meant
really
to be.
is.
And then Jenny Moonstone, Heidi Vandenberg, Eric Arneson, Kalendal. I think that's it. That's all my booking. I don't have anything
You
booked.
should try to get Corey Good.
No, I've got Marty Leeds and Micah Hanks gave me a next.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he said he'd do it. Yeah,
they said they would do it. And Dark Journalist is going to come on. And who else? Are You Serious? Do you know who that is? He used to be the editor of a magazine called Mondo 2000, I think. Wrote for Wired magazine. He's a weird dude. He started the nootropic movements in the 80s. Okay. Not impressed.
Not familiar with them.
Neurotropic?
Nootropic.
Alpha Brain.
Supplements.
I don't know. What do you guys call them?
Nootropics?
Nootropics.
Yeah, or whatever. Yeah.
Nootropics, yeah. I think it's a
To get back to Ephraim's research,
Sorry.
Yeah.
one question I'd like to ask: where do those images come from?
I'm not sure which ones he pulled from, but yeah, I mean they are from NASA.
Tough.
And so my thought is that what if all of this is a way to try to get this into some sort of physical reality, when in essence all of this is metaphysical? The connections with the other planets, the possible artifacts or structures on other planets. What if all of this is purely metaphysical?
Yeah, we're putting out.
We're trying
the
to
data
physicalize
mentally,
it.
informing our own
the
universe.
connections, at least.
The idea may be that when you did the moon missions, you were actually creating a giant sigil, a giant magic ritual that then brought things into fruition. And maybe if you were doing the same thing by creating this facade, this theater of planetary research, that you're going to then, through that act bring that to be?
By having the collective of enough of the collective of humanity imagine space as they want, it will manifest that way. That's the idea. And it all started with the moon landing, which kind of solidified space as a thing and the moon as a thing that can be landed upon. Right?
So
Is that the idea?
Right? So what do you do when you go back to the ancients that just studied the skies, and these planets have been here forever,
and they realize something else about it that we don't realize in this modern day.
Think of them as placeholders until you go there and see it. Then it has to,
then new data is born.
It doesn't need to be rendered until you get there, right? So
right, yeah, I get that. Yeah, it's like down the street is not rendered yet until you visualize it. Yeah. That's true, man. So that's the tough part, because like we were just saying, what the fuck can you believe? Images. These are data-driven images.
Like, you go there. That's how you believe it. I told Jerry a while back that I would go there and tell him what I found, and like I had an out-of-body experience literally the day before yesterday, and I went to Jupiter.
Yes.
And it looked like Jupiter.
And that was astral travel.
Sphere.
A giant gas planet.
But that's not this plane.
That was astral travel, and that's exactly what I'm saying.
That's what I'm working on, too.
It's purely, this is all metaphysical. It's not actually physical.
No, space is an expression.
When I was hovering in low orbit around Jupiter.
But you weren't in this. You weren't on this physical plane. In this physical plane, space exists as an expression of consciousness. I believe it's an expression of consciousness in such a way that we can comprehend it. Because
I don't understand, like, what would be the evidence that you would accept then? Because like when I have an out-of-body experience, I'm in like physical reality. I mean, I went through my ceiling into the sky and I flew to Jupiter.
See, that's what I want you to explain.
I think what Jerry's saying is that physical reality that you flew into is a result at the lensing of our thoughts. So
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when you go, Ren, so when you go...
Wait, put it this way.
You're not taking a physical craft.
Let me put it this way. I think when you're not astral projecting, you might see the overlap of physical and astral space when you look into space. I don't know. It could be real.
Either way, you're not physically going, right?
Right. You just...
Close enough.
You got to define the astral plane before you say it's real, you know?
It's not,
and I'm not saying what you saw was wrong or not Jupiter. It is what it is. Right?
I mean, to answer Nomad there, I mean, the thing, like the way my cosmology works, I consider traveling somewhere in an astral form like just as legitimate as physically going in there. So, like for me,
you had that intent, right? That intention.
That's also the only way you're ever actually gonna go.
Well, that's kind of what I want you to explain a little bit. So so this happens, like, you know, I almost need you to take me through your process of when you fall asleep. Like, you try to clear your mind completely and just you got to tell me how this works.
Okay. This time was mostly by accident. As I was going to sleep, I either in my mind's eye or physically saw, I can't remember. It was sort of blurry because I was just about to fall asleep. Saw like a light under my door. And I saw a little foot and leg, like kind of in the, you know, the shadow, like there was something sitting outside my door.
Yeah.
And it's like it noticed me and it moved away from the door. And I was like, motherfucker, there better not be something creepy in my house. So I was like, I tried to get up so I could go see what it was. But I found that I was like paralyzed. And I was like, oh, shit, I'm stuck in sleep paralysis.
It was you.
So I started like kind of like moving my arm up in the air and I'm just like kind of like, oh, like barely able to move it. But
this is physically being able to move it, or like,
it seemed physical.
Okay, yeah, I get what you're saying.
I kind of like ripped up and stepped out of bed, and then I realized like I had stepped out of my body. Like,
yes,
I was still physically in the bed, and so I was like, okay, well, I guess we're out of body now. And I just like went through the door of my bedroom. Since I couldn't open it, I just went through it, and I just started running down the hallway as fast as I could. And there was nothing in my living room, so whatever I saw under the door wasn't there anymore. But I decided to just go ahead and jump straight up through the roof. So that's what I did. I just jumped and I went straight through the roof. I think there's one floor above my apartment. I like went through that floor, came out of the roof of my apartment, and then yeah, I was like looking sort of at the stars and the moon, and I was
Which
like,
instantly draws you into it.
well, yeah, I was like, I want to go to the moon because I've been meaning to do that for a while, like go into space. So I had that intention to do it, and I do what I call like twisting. I don't know if there's like Robert Monroe uses other words for this.
Yeah,
but,
there's
like,
everyone has like a little like thing, right? Like
yeah,
yeah.
like it's sort of like a way to move faster than light, like move
Yeah.
from one place to another. And for me, it feels like I twist, like my body twists when I do it. And like, so I sort of lose my vision for a second while this is happening. And when I come to, I expected to be at the moon. Instead, I was like in low orbit outside Jupiter. And there was actually a Jovian moon, like one of the moons of Jupiter was in front of me, like between me and Jupiter. And so I like slowly like crossed my vision. And I was like sitting there, I was like, whoa, I went out way further than I meant to. And yeah, I mean, I was just like watching the storms and like the swirling and stuff outside Jupiter. And then like there's a whole second segment of this I won't go in, but then like I sort of like felt like I was being drawn out of there and started falling backwards. And like I kept falling past, I guess, what were moons. And then I think I fell past Neptune. Like I was like being pulled out of the solar system for some reason. And then I ended up in another place and I had to fight my way out of it. And
wow.
I had one more out of body experience after that. Like after this whole segment where I had to escape this place,
Were there any reptilians there?
No, there was a little kid there that I felt like was trapping me there. And I basically forced him to let me go. And I ended up back in my bed, still sleep paralyzed. So I pulled myself out of my body again. And I went into what should have been my living room, but it was instead some sort of mansion. And it was morning. It was someplace I'd never seen before. And I saw the same kid outside the window. He started running away when he saw me. And so like I broke down the window to follow him, but he got away from me. So I don't know. Somebody was trying to mess with me. I don't know. Sometimes that happens when I'm having these out of body experiences. You'll encounter other entities, and sometimes
that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, like I've heard that. Yeah, and you try. Everyone's chasing each other, but you can never like get there. It's really fucked up. I've heard wild stories about that.
Yeah. But yeah, that was just the other night. I mean,
so
good times.
How could you consider that physical?
Well,
you know what I mean?
The first part was definitely physical when I went through my roof, like I was still in physical reality. But like, I don't know. I mean, there are people like Robert Monroe who were able to do this and bring back information they should not have known.
Yeah.
So it's like,
dude, he was able to go down the street and see his neighbors. It was like, he has, his Journeys Outside the Body book is fucking bananas, dude.
Now,
like,
once I got pulled back, like pulled out of the solar system or whatever happened to me, from that point on, I felt like it more like was in sort of like a dream realm or like a dreamscape or something, because like it was no place I'd ever seen physically.
I've only made it to your first segment of that. Like I've felt that whole separation and coming, like all I did was like a breathing exercise to like clear my mind and everything. And then like on like, I'd say like the 20th deep breath of like you breathe in and you hold it for 5 seconds, you know, then 1,000, 2, 1,000, and then you let go, you know, like I'd say like the 20th one of that, a calming down, boom, dude, my fucking, oh my God. Yeah. Physically you feel like this weird sense of
and everything. It feels
like it's messed up, dude. You feel it like fucking plow right out. And it freaked me out, and then instantly, bam, like right back in.
Yeah.
And I shot like straight up. I'm like with a huge smile on my face. I wasn't scared, but it was like weird. I was excited that it happened, and that's why it pulled me like right back in. Obviously, I wasn't ready for it or something.
You're
I don't know.
almost there, dude. You got to get over the fear, and you can do it. You're almost there. Like you've taken more of the journey than it requires to actually get there. You're almost at the finish line.
Yeah,
because
I mean,
if you can get out and stay out and like keep your composure. That's
dude, yes. Then that full-on experience would be telling to yourself. You know, like holy shit, like there is something to it.
Exactly.
Something else.
What I think is that is more real than what we think is real.
That's all I'm looking for now. It's so weird, dude. I don't know. Like, I mean, I got wife, two kids. It's just like, but I'm like searching for something so random.
Well, it's because I think this whole
I don't know.
reality is like I said, it's less real than the actual metaphysical reality or whatever you want to call it. This game,
Yeah,
this
'cause all-
drama,
yeah,
we're
this
in
game, this
is a
drama
big
game,
play.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly,
yeah,
and it's way less real than.
It brings up this sort of philosophical question about what is reality. I mean, like,
Yeah.
to me, I don't consider dreams any less physically real than like the life I'm living right now and talking.
What
to
if that's real and this is just
yeah,
figuring it
they're
out?
all-
How do you
they're
make the
all
distinction
real.
between the two? Yeah, they're just as real. Like, that's what a lot of people like. Oh, you just had a dream.
You think your dream is real, so in that moment, what's the
piss your
difference
pants.
between it and right now? You think this moment is real.
Yeah.
Right. And
It's the
we
same
also
argument
live
with
in a-
taking mushrooms. If you take a mushroom and you go and meet God,
so why wouldn't it be real? Yeah.
What's the difference between that and the real event of meeting God if your experience is still the same?
I would say that would be more legit. That would be more legit because those neurons are firing like beyond belief. You
Exactly.
know, those neural connections on psilocybin is, I mean, everyone's seen that chart recently of the neural connections, dude. I mean,
But we live in a physical reality,
yeah.
at least right now, that is still telling us that that is not real.
Well, this is why when the Aboriginals of Australia
Scientism
originally
and all
told that we went to the moon, you know, they were like, "So what? We've been to the moon. We
Yeah.
go there all the time,
Right?
You know?
Right?
Because they do, and it's real. Like, it's no less real. That's why I think like a lot of entities like aliens or UFOs and stuff, I've had this theory for a while that if we as humans, like a conscious entity, can do things like astrally project, you know, over vast distances in space and time, why can't aliens do the same? What if we're encountering like literally extraterrestrials that are projecting themselves across space and time? Because I think eventually cultures and societies find out that is a more efficient way to travel through the universe than building a fucking physical spaceship and going around.
Ren, I completely agree. Anything
Absolutely.
that we experience, we should assume that anybody else would experience.
Totally.
I kind of draw the line in the idea that science is created in multiple continents at the same time. The Wright brothers created, you know, a plane that's within such a close period of time that it's still disputed on whether or not they were the first ones to fly. Why wouldn't that same process be happening in the way that the electric universe may tie the entire universe together?
Yeah.
Vast distances of evolution and astral projection and consciousness. I mean, it gets crazy because then you have people that start using different types of entheogens and they see different types of symbols on those entheogens and different types of entities and creatures. And well, if you have the idea that certain drugs you see jaguars on, and we know that those fruits and vegetables are eaten by jaguars, it starts getting into the crazy places where I go, okay, well, let's talk about a universal interface where there is this specific type of compound that is able to be processed by our brains that may be similar enough across the universe that you're kind of tapping into that quote-unquote Akasha record. Like that's
ether,
what my
dude,
brain goes.
that electronic ether. That's why you can be here and then instantly be there.
Yeah, I've long considered psilocybin, especially, to not be like a hallucinogen or a psychedelic, but quite literally an interstellar medium, like for communication.
Well, what if it's just what if it's just what you're trying to project, but you can do it instantly? You know, like because of those neuron connections. I think that's probably like the benefit of taking something like that over like a yogi doing it for like 100 fucking years, but
Well,
and he can do it without it.
Psilocybin's being shown to have neuroregenesis, so it's actually causing you to grow neurons.
Well, I think what you're going to see happening in the future,
finally,
the future of space exploration or travel, you know, it's hard to communicate across stellar distances because of, you know, radio can only travel at the speed of light or whatever. I think what you'll see is like future human technology using things like mushrooms in order to like break the sort of light barrier in communications between other humans. Like instead of like pulling up your radio and like dialing this other spaceship, you'll do a dose of mushrooms and like connect to them and give them your message.
Well, yeah, just in the way that the Aboriginals and different tribes would say that they go to the moon, they would also communicate over long distances, think things, know when somebody was in trouble, know when somebody was going to be coming back to town. Like you would get these senses. You would know that somebody had passed away while in the field. We don't fucking know that stuff anymore, but I think it can be into it.
Yeah, why not? I mean, it wasn't Paul Stamets actually an advisor to some of the new Star Trek stuff.
Yep.
And the mushroom warp drive.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Same type of idea.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a very like Terrence McKenna idea too. I mean, I think he said multiple times that, you know, the mushroom was an interstellar communications medium, and that it was like when we did the mushroom, we were literally talking to aliens, you know, like extraterrestrials that were also using that sort of fungal network to communicate with other species.
Mm-hmm. That's what would be interesting to see, really physically, how far we can go, if at all.
I mean, Robert Monroe says in Far Journeys, like that he gets taken to the future to a point where mankind like transcends basically and becomes like these other species in the galaxy, and like they're able to basically control matter and energy around them with their thoughts. And it's like we have no need for like food or like, you know, heat. Like you don't have to wear clothes or anything anymore because you can control everything around your environment with just your mind.
Mm-hmm. At that point, the concept of being physical is non-existent.
But everybody's named Alexa.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just thought it's just like the even the definition of this astral. It's just like it's used like it's an out of body experience, supposed form of telepathy that assumes the existence of a soul or consciousness called the astral body. So then, so if you're able to separate the physical, you know, outside into the astral, I mean, is the two the same? It's weird.
Well, also think about the fact that from most of everyone's perspective, those ideas seem foreign. They seem like outer possibilities, where what if the reality is that those are all inner capabilities?
Right.
And what has happened is that everyone's had like a wool pulled over their eyes to distract into the physical.
It makes sense. Like an experiencer.
Everybody used to remember phone numbers. We don't anymore because they're remembered within our phone. I think that happens to all ability.
That's
so that distraction is getting worse and worse.
It's more like an atrophy.
Yeah, exactly. But it's the same thing. Your brain's a muscle. We used to be able to remember stories, and now we've transferred it to books, so we lose that. So it
is maybe a transfer because like you feel like you want to stay and even almost go back. Like
it's a big distraction.
But at the same time, technology is so dope. You want to go forward. It's so fucking weird, dude.
So if I were to say to you, James, how cool would it be if you could just close your eyes and communicate through your mind with anybody across the globe, or I could give you a phone that would let you watch YouTube videos of cats.
Everybody knows that's like my ultimate goal. I don't know why. Like
that's what I love. Like some of these ideas, like it is literally like the coolest fucking thing that we're trying to emulate that just could do.
Like just meet up in this astral thing.
But also on top of that, these devices, Adam, aren't they also VR at the same time almost like little devices of like mind control, because they're constantly like tying you into all these weird loops, and it's all drama.
Yes,
it's all drama based.
Well, we have to separate that.
I've been thinking about this a lot, that any system that we create, like if you don't make something that's going to work as part of the whole system, it's not going to benefit all the things around it. If you design something that can't do that, but by its very nature, like capitalism just continues to grow and is always going to need to be fed more. If you create this system that pattern in and of itself is a life, that the idea that a corporation kind of becomes its own thing where the will of the people is no longer important and it's just going to suck up all these resources, I think that kind of goes for everything.
Well, like,
yeah, I can totally see that. I think it's been like I think it's all on purpose too. It's been that way it's by design.
Well, I don't even think it's necessarily by malevolent, that it's being done to be negative. But if you create a system by its very design, it's going to have negative consequences. Kind of like
there's there's the polar opposite of anything.
yeah, it's like anything else, right? We could look at every single environmental disaster that we have going on the planet. It's going to affect us health-wise. It's going to affect the environment. It's going to affect all these things, whether it's plastic in the oceans, poisons in the food, pesticides causing cancer, fracking, whatever it is. Pick your favorite one. The detrimental consequences to fix these things are terrible, but that's driven by the fact that there's this thing called profit. So we created this system that has all these negative consequences, that what we really need to do is create some sort of system that by its very nature can only have positive consequences. And God damn it, I'm trying to, it's such a complicated thing. I can give you the example I heard. I think it was a guy in the Joe Rogan Experience essentially explain how you could do this with schooling, where you could get rid of debt, where, and we talked about this before, Ren, I think you and I, maybe Jerry, where what you would do is instead of having somebody go to school for, 20 years to become whatever, major profession, or 10 years to become a teacher and then come out with all these huge student loans and debts, what you would do is you would say, hey, look, if you want to be a teacher, that's fine. Because you want to do it, you can do it. It's going to cost nothing. And then when you get out, you're not going to have any bills, nothing to burden you down. But as a debt to society, because you've got this, you now have to be a teacher for X amount of years in this profession without getting paid. This is part of your duty, whether it's kindergarten teacher. After that period of time, then you're back out to the workforce to do this. So at the end, you've taken out the entire monetary system for a person having all this debt, having to, come out and make it. And now they're just a square citizen who's doing what they want because they want. So you encourage the right people to do the jobs for the right reasons. You would take out the finance, you take out all the debt. And so you're kind of structuring a system to get rid of all the negatives that have plagued the education system, which is, people getting riddled with so much debt that they don't want to enter, a system where you're having participants that are not qualified for the position, people that don't really want to do the job, they're just doing it because of the financial, if we could just figure out how to kind of structure the entire society, but
right. And
when we
what
do
about
things,
a basic income? A basic income could help solve that kind of thing.
We've been talking about that.
No, wait, it's welfare, dude. You're talking about
well, because
It's
I mean,
more
if you
dependency
think about
on
the
government.
if you think about the teacher example, right? There's going to be a point in time where they still have to have some basic income.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with Adam's idea on this, except that, I think they should be paid for it. But basically, yeah, like schools should be free. Like it's nearly free in almost every Western country except for the United States. And like it's ridiculous that we have so much student loan debt. And how much of the financial markets debt is based in student loan debt? It's an incredible percentage of it.
Mm-hmm.
And if that was to ever go belly up, it's going to cause a lot of fucking problems. So
Most of our money goes either towards interest on our debt or military.
And not only that, as humans, don't we want to kind of have some teamwork and raise people to be smart, intelligent, and proficient
We all want
in
the Star Trek future, dude. But
I mean, ideally, right?
Yeah.
We want to get better and better.
Absolutely.
So schooling should totally be free.
A lot of things should be free, but they ain't.
that doesn't mean they can't be. It just means that they aren't right now.
We have to not
Unfortunately
allow our government to try and expand the empire to every country in the world, which it's doing. Yeah. And until we stop that, until we stop this war machine and the banks, then nothing can change.
Yeah,
our fucking roads are crumbling around us.
Well, and that goes back to the idea that there's a certain group of people on this planet or plane that realize how things are, and they want to hold everyone back,
or don't care.
I think we talked about the other night.
This is the first time that now that we have the internet, that they have the power to do these things, that they have access to the information and the distribution, and that there's these key people that have managed to network themselves. And because they're doing something which is for humanity, an altruistic reason, they do have the upper hand. Like, I could believe that that's what we're seeing here is kind of like that, white hat undergroup or underground group that's secretly leaking from behind the scenes.
Are you going back to QAnon?
Definitely.
I thought that's what you were going back to there.
Oh, that
Me? No.
I thought Nomad was hopping back to that.
Oh.
I mean, if you think about it, there's got to be so many different groups.
So what's everyone's favorite internet roleplay account telling people now?
Role play.
Is it QAnon?
It is. It's all ego based.
Yeah,
it'd have to be Q, man. I mean, what's bigger than Q? I don't know. Q and Assange. I don't know. Like,
how about none?
Well,
that's my answer.
Did you guys see the tweet that Darren put out? And did you see that, Jerry?
No.
So one of the keys that Julian Assange released, the key like numbers, hash keys.
The dead man switch.
Yeah, when put into YouTube, comes up with a video from 2009.
Oh,
and it only had like 3,000 or something views on it. And it's of 2 CGI airplanes. Here, let me. I'll post it.
It's weird.
The paper plane. It's a follow up to the paper planes video.
It makes no sense. I'm like, what the fuck? And then there's like a ton of shit after that. You got to keep going, man.
Give me a minute. I'll pull it up.
When was this?
Just the other night. Yesterday. I think it was yesterday or Friday. Friday. Yeah.
It goes back to this all being a big play.
Well, yeah.
I mean, it's several plays that are just
info being
stacking.
Yeah.
They're stacking, and ultimately it's one big play.
Well, here's
people are talking. No, it's Assange. He's coming back. You know, the airplane. Yeah, it's like weird. There was a lot of people talking like that about that tweet. But then I got further in because it was like all those numbers kept going to more videos. Like you'd have to go down the rabbit hole. It's just I don't know. I made it through a few. Then I started watching.
I know what that is,
and I hope we start to see like some real things happen.
Well, back. You know, I hate to bring it back, but
Discord, Jerry.
I know what
favorite
that is.
gathering. I've been talking. I listened to this podcast.
I found it, Matt.
I just posted it anyways.
Matt Belair, and he had Michael Tellinger on, and he had and he has this whole project going, and he's been doing for like 10 years. He has this thing. It's called One Small Town, and it's like a too good to be true type thing. Like, in the way he explains it, it's like a huge shift in consciousness to awaken people to this new, far superior path. The journey happens in stages, basically. So what it is like they have this one. It's called One Small Town Initiative to create food and income generating projects in a community. So it's all ran by the power of the community members where applicable. We make 3 times what we need. The surplus is then sold to neighboring towns and beyond, easily undercutting corporations as they have no labor or import costs. So in the beginning of the stages, these funds are funneled back into more produce and income generating projects until eventually the town is self-sustaining, generating a stabilized income throughout the external sales. So this money is then split between the further advancement of the town, then the business owners and the community members. You know, it's transferred all to them. So they make all of the money, you know, so all the members of the community are rewarded for their efforts with free products and services. So it's like eliminating money. Like you're using capital to create this system that will eventually you will eliminate the system. So
I like it.
Yeah. So like what happens is then the products and services are even growing income as more and more money is generated, a product is formed. So we provide free labs for scientists, free equipment for engineers, free materials for inventions, anything to support diversity and growth. Talented and skilled people will flock to the town where they are respected and fully supported and following the passion. Beyond the architect, teacher, doctor, professor, musician, all these, like a baker, candlestick maker, and the new surge of talent spawns the next wave of leisure and pleasure, creating goods and services as well as more products. And then in produce to sell eventually, the town members will be able to leave their current employment, and over time they will have little need for money as the town itself produces all it needs or imports the essentials from similar communities around the world. So he's trying to build these things, and there's going to be one in Canada they're starting soon too. They've had this. It took a while, and it took like 10 years to do it, but they're gaining like momentum in it, and it's working.
Yeah, I mean that's like a collective farm, and it's very Marxist.
Yeah,
I mean one of the main tenets of like Marxism is, you know, from each according to their ability and to each according to their need. Like basically, you provide what you can, and you'll get what you need.
Yeah.
You know, and like, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with using money for that, because money works as a good metaphor for like labor.
Well, they'll make so much money they won't even need it. So like every person, so if you had all these people in this community, like, and all the jobs that are needed, so like if everyone put in time, I mean, he basically equated it to like you would work like 3 hours a week because there's so many fucking people in there. Like,
yeah, the idea,
and
like,
you would be skilled in whatever job you wanted. I mean, like, it just.
Well, yeah,
like,
because everybody, the energy that we're inputting into the world is bullshit. 90% of it, it's commute, it's bullshit.
You can put it into a small community. Imagine the power that would have. So I don't.
Yeah, it's working to drive consumerism. How many people are just working retail or moving goods?
Yeah,
like sort of the idea, like in a Marxist system, like that would be that your money is basically used for like leisure or luxury.
Yeah.
Basically, like your housing's paid for, your utilities are paid for, like your healthcare and schooling, all that stuff's paid for. You wouldn't use money for that. You'd use money for like, if you want to buy something nice for yourself, you want like a nice TV. Well, that's what you got money for. You know, you'd have money to like buy luxuries, basically. Everything else would be taken care of. You wouldn't need money for that.
Wouldn't need it. You'd have the food. You'd go to the baker. There's like one baker, but he's like it's the best baker. I mean, everyone's putting all this their little bit of energy
cool in a
that's
small
needed.
Community, James, if you like to if you really enjoy growing tomatoes, I like to raise animals and grow pigs.
Yeah.
You know,
imagine
like,
it. Yeah, like
this is what you do. You have people that do.
Me and you, dude, are carpenters, so we can build. We, you know,
fuck that.
and
I'm
then
getting out of that. I'll grow.
Yeah,
well,
this
you
is
take
collectivism, and you have people like Jordan Peterson, like, you know, collectivism is the most dangerous thing in the history of mankind. You know, like it's like, no, it's not. It's actually fucking great, and it would be really nice if we could all live like that. I mean, that sounds fine to me. You know?
Yeah, well, I mean, Jesus Christ, like, I mean, you put in that time and effort, and like, and over time, you know, it will become self-sufficient. You know, like, why wouldn't it? If everyone's doing that, if you had I don't know how many people were like, you have to research it more. How many people live in this town? But
yeah, the only reason our current system is like that, but the reason we don't see the fruits of that is because all of the profit from our labor is sucked right to the top, to the boss.
Yeah, there's so much funneled off the top that it's ridiculous. If you look what the minimum wage should be today, I mean, we're talking about being like $30 minimum.
Totally.
To bring us back to like 50 cents.
This is an idea of having like an equal wealth society where we basically all
well,
have like
imagine it. Everyone's equal. Fuck.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds fucking great to me.
You wouldn't hate. Like everyone would almost walk around with a smile on their face unless you're battling depression or something. But I think there wouldn't be less depression.
Imagine how low crime rates would be in a town like that. Because without inequality, you really lose. Like 90% of crime doesn't happen.
Yeah, that's where all the science says it's inequality, not what you have. And that makes total sense because today living, guess what? You and I with air conditioning in a house are living better than any king. That did not exist. If it was summer, you were fucked.
Yeah, and you have all these people with all these skills involved in this town, you know, and then it generates word of mouth. Everyone's coming to this town. You're getting the best scientists. See, I think their biggest issue is electricity and power. So they're trying to break free from that system because that feeds the you know, there's so many levels above the energy consumption of things. So like, but you can buy energy from different suppliers. So I think that's what they're trying to do. Say like you live in the giant town that's pulling energy from one big giant company, probably some nuke plant somewhere or whatever. You know, like you're going to have to break free from that somehow. And that's what their biggest issue is, from what I remember.
The hardest part is the legislation across the country is really clamped down from keeping you off the grid.
Like you were saying, Adam, down in Florida, right?
Oh, yeah. Florida, it's illegal to collect rainwater. You cannot be disconnected from the grid. You have to have plumbing brought in there. There are exceptions in different areas, but for the most part, you have to have plumbing brought in. If you have your own electrical feeds, you have to tie into the grid to feed back your power. Like, they lock you in. There's no way to get off in Florida.
You can't grow your own food anymore.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's a good example of like legislation that was enacted in order to make people safer, like building codes and stuff like that, but taken to like a fascist extreme.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like you can't do anything for yourself anymore. You
What
know?
really bothers me is if you just look at the standard city and way we do things. Okay, so how much food do we really need to grow? How many homeless people do we have that we're having, people are like in where I live, every year there's issues with people getting arrested because they're feeding the homeless. And I go, okay, well, here's a genius idea. How about instead of planting all these decorative trees, we plant fruit trees and apple trees and orange trees and all these things that can naturally bear fruit so that we all have food around us? How about instead of saying it's illegal for you to grow tomatoes on your property because, we need the tomato farms to be able to supply and sell you that shit, that we open it up so that people can actually have gardens and we start supporting that in communities, because a community could feed most of itself, allow people to have chickens on their property, These are the types of things that should be being allowed but have been restricted to try to force the consumerism.
Yeah, you see some of those community gardens and stuff in places like New York. There's a popular movement there to do it, especially in low-income communities where they have no real healthy food choices. There's just like fast food and kind of like grocery stores that don't
Whatever's
really have,
brought in on a truck.
Yeah. And that's what we need to move back towards, like growing our own food, having being more self-sufficient and sharing with others, and not necessarily doing things for the sole sake of like profit.
And that's legislation to me, because it's what you can do in your own yard. If you have a house, if you have a balcony, what is allowed. And clearly these decisions aren't being made for the betterment of nutrition, the betterment of society. I mean, honestly, if we really cared about feeding people and reducing that, we would just have all of our parks completely planted with things that would bear fruit.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
there's got to be a reason for that.
Some places are like that. I mean, like in New York, there's a lot of ginkgo trees, and some people, I don't know who they fucking are because ginkgos smell terrible. Some people really love ginkgo fruit, and so especially like in New York, a lot of the like Chinese people that live there will like go collect ginkgo fruit in the park during the summer or like when it's fruiting. So you see stuff like that somewhere, but again, it's probably something that some fucking lunkhead would make illegal because they're like, we got to protect people, but like protect them from what,
Well, yeah, exactly. And then it's justified. Like in Florida, it's illegal to collect rainwater. Tell me why. Like that is clearly so that you use more water. But we're in a drought. We have all this, you're artificially keeping the lake low. You're, funneling all this water out to sea. Like, what the fuck are you guys doing anyways? And now we want to actually do something proactive, which is maybe water our gardens or our lawns or do whatever people do with rainwater. And you can't even do that because of maybe mosquitoes. Like, fuck that. Like, it's not illegal to have an old tire in your backyard.
Yeah, really. The rainwater stuff really irritates the crap out of me, because I've heard that a couple times. I think there's some places in the Northwest you can't either. Like, it's ridiculous. Because, I mean, like, I've always had sort of a fantasy of having, like, a completely self-sufficient, off-the-grid house, with, like, rainwater collection and my own solar panels. Yeah, like, everything. Like, I would love...
Oh, if I had the money, I would get solar and I would get myself a good, efficient electric vehicle, because guess what? Everything you pull in is free. There is, whatever you're getting from that sun, that's yours.
Man, I wish I had an electric car so bad. I feel like... I got a new car like in 2011, and I really wish I'd just gotten an electric car, because something I think I didn't realize then and I realize now is that with an electric car, it doesn't have a motor, right? So like you don't have to get like an oil change ever.
Yeah, your expenses on a car is
less moving parts.
Exactly.
You have 4 motors in the wheels. They can go.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no transmission. Yeah. From a maintenance standpoint, they're amazing.
Much to burn out, nothing,
Now, the disadvantage is if you have to hightail it and get out of town, the infrastructure isn't everywhere. You're limited on range. So, come zombie apocalypse, that's not going to be the vehicle to go off into the desert.
And getting right to where everyone runs out of range.
Unless you can convert it into some kind of ray gun.
Yeah, come zombie apocalypse, I think you'd be better off
putting a machine gun on top of this
dirt bike or an ATV or something than a.
Oh, I'd be getting a dirt bike or something, dude. Yeah, you need something nimble. If you have a dirt bike, I mean, you're gonna get you get a lot of mileage out of something like that.
Or a sailboat. Like a sailboat would be the ideal.
Hit the water, yeah. Zombies can't swim, bitch.
A new pirate group.
Yeah.
New pirates.
I want a catamaran so bad. That's my main goal with this like Bitcoin and crypto shit.
Is to get a catamaran.
I just gotta get enough money that I can buy a nice like catamaran, and then I'm done for life.
I went on one of those down in Key Largo, dude, down in Florida. Oh, it was fucking badass. We went out to where the underwater Jesus is. If you ever heard of that, like, yeah. Well, Adam would have, but oh man, and it was amazing, and like the snorkeling.
It
was like a 5-hour thing because we didn't do a normal one. We went like it was like me and my wife at the time. It was before we had kids and stuff, and we went with like another couple. It was like 3 couples basically, and we just set out for the day, and it was fucking badass.
Yeah.
Like
catamarans are nice. They have a lot of room on the inside.
yeah, you just sit right in the middle of that, dude, and you're just flowing across the ocean.
Yeah.
It's it's awesome.
And I don't think I could get used to, like, with a normal sailboat, like when you're really moving, you know, the whole thing like
Yeah.
tilts to one side.
Yeah.
So like you kind of have to get used to like being sideways all the time. But with a catamaran, it's completely stable. It stays.
Yeah, it's pretty flat. It doesn't do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I want one really bad. I don't know. Just gotta get enough money, get my catamaran, and I'm gonna fucking live in.
You can live in the one side and you can podcast on the other side.
Exactly.
As soon as some of these altcoins pop, dude, we're gonna be filthy rich.
Oh, we're gonna go crypto.
Dude, I'm looking at Ubik. Like Ubik I'm waiting for that to pop off because I've been accumulating Ubik for months now, and it looks like it's about to fucking explode, and I really hope it does. I've been waiting for it to explode for a long time, but
I've been accumulating Litecoin. I've got 10 now.
Oh, I think I'm gonna start diving into this too, man. This whole Bitcoin. I don't know why, but
one I have the
like
most-
Nomad says, it's just a thing, man, and you're just gonna go into it, dude. Like,
I'm not saying it's the future or it's aliens or it's
It's
AI.
still based off of the U.S. dollar.
There you go.
It's part of the play.
I can make money on it. In the meantime, that's all I'm looking at.
I love you, dude. I love it. It's just like it's based off money. Like, can
It is
you
part of the play.
Can you
I mean,
buy Bitcoin without cash?
Go back to what Ren was saying about that out of body experience.
Yeah.
In that regard, all of this doesn't really matter.
So have fun while you're doing it.
Yeah, that's the one thing. That's
I mean,
what
I'm
I'm
not scared
saying.
of death.
We have this connection to the past, but then there's this weird, crazy, fucked up future down the road. You know, like
yeah. I mean, like
and-
I know that.
Also with technology.
that's what I mean with the tech. Yeah, like
Yeah. Like I know because I have out-of-body experiences that there's more to the universe and life than the flesh that I'm currently wearing in this.
There's many layers, right? There's many layers to life. So you have your physical, right, and you have this soul aspect of it. So they're in the physical. You can find new things like this new technology. Dude, look how far we've already came in 100 years. I mean, it's pretty fucking amazing.
It's like even though I know that there is more to me than my physical body and that there's going to be things that happen after I die, it's still like I do want to still live the most comfortable life that I can while I'm here and try to help other people live a comfortable life. Like there's no reason it's very nihilistic to be like, well, since there's going to be an afterlife, I have nothing to live for in this life.
Now that's fucked up. Yeah, like when you take that leap, there's something wrong. I think there's just something
what
wrong.
Gets me is we are put in the position of wealth and resources as a society that we could, if we had ourselves socially structured, be living the perfect lives with very little stress in a very but we're not. So if we could work ourselves towards that and we have an infinite recycle on ourselves, that means that we could become heaven. The true heaven could be created by making this world perfect. And then you just live in it.
Hell yeah, dude.
We should just buy a trailer park.
That's perfect.
we gotta put our phones together. We don't need much to buy a trailer park. We could just do that and we could start there.
No, man, we all need boats. And then we can have a
trailer park on the ocean with boats. Yeah,
exactly.
I like it.
A flotilla, boys. We need a
flotilla.
Hey, international waters, boys. The rules
I
are
heard
different.
of a project where they build these things out on the water. It's called like
well, there's a guy who built that island out of like plastic bottles and shit.
Yep.
What's it called? OBDM. Joe he talks about it. What the fuck's it called? It's like tiny home. It's like a whole city, like on the fucking water. Like,
yeah, there's a cruise ship that does that where they rent out essentially apartment complexes. Apartments, and you can live in them.
There's one actually called the World. The ship's called the World.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're like 600 to over 2 million each. You basically get a 1 or 2 bedroom suite on a cruise ship.
And then everybody votes on where the next destinations are going to be, and whichever place gets the most votes is where you go.
Yeah.
So it's fairly democratic.
Oh, it's called sea setting. Yeah.
Actually,
Okay.
Pakatoa Island.
World.
got the
Pakatoa
link here.
Island off the coast of New Zealand is actually up for sale for about 20 million.
That's
okay?
it?
Yeah, I know, right? That's
No, I mean, if I was a billionaire, I'd be like, fuck yeah.
I just pasted that link.
So it used to be like an Alcoholics Anonymous like thing where like people would go there to dry out or do like therapy or whatever. So there's like 300 beds in like these little like little houses and stuff all over the island. And I knew some people who were thinking about doing a collective project where basically 300 people get together and buy this island. And 20 million by 300 people is like 60,000 a person. Like, I'd be down to do that. Like,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
cheaper
I'd
than
sign
a
up
house.
for that.
Me too, if I had the cash. Totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, this is the sea setting project they're working on, where you have these islands. Like,
I'm fine with living on an island as long as I have myself a helicopter and I've got myself like a cutter type craft where I can go flying through any wave without getting taken out with 2 motors.
Mm-hmm. What we
Jet
really
ski.
need, we really
I just
need
don't. I have too much respect for the super waves out there, storms
we really
and
need
hurricanes.
a nuclear sub, because if we have a nuclear sub, then we have a power plant that can power a whole little city if we need to.
Oh, I never thought about that.
That's the first thing we need is a nuclear sub, and that might be a little hard for us to get, but
No.
I think if we have enough
We need
guns
the
and enough
engine.
people, we can take one over.
No,
If you want the
honestly, if you have the
luxuries
money, I
of
bet
life.
you can get a decommissioned military, Russian military. So
fuck the nuke shit. We need like free energy device.
We don't have.
I mean, dude, people, you've seen everyone build these fucking things. I mean, it's like, and then
Yeah,
they,
but if they built one that worked, that would probably be a deal. Because I don't think there's any. So the whole free energy thing, I know that's a cool idea, and some people claim they've done it, but it like literally doesn't make any sense to me because energy has to come from somewhere.
cold fusion. In my
I think
opinion,
everything's energy. So maybe
is
that's
gonna be
where
the big one, and that one's probably going to come online in the next 20 years. It's a number that's quote unquote, who knows.
Mm-hmm.
But you're familiar with back in the day, the group of scientists that claimed that they had created cold fusion. They got more power back. It was debunked, quote unquote. The thing that's interesting is if you start looking at a lot of physicists, now that they've done other studies, there's been some groups that have redone the experiments, and they can't get the same amount of power output that they got coming out, but they can get power coming out that should not be there. So what it's hinting at is that there is some sort of reaction going on in physics that they're not aware of. There's this untapped energy potential. So now there's a lot of physicists that are doing their own experiments that are taking it very seriously because they're going, okay, well, what this is saying is that initially what they did in their experiment fundamentally might actually be right, and the conditions might be such that we're looking at a new type of physics that we don't quite understand, because essentially they're using some sort of like zinc anode, which is then breaking down into something else, breaking down into something else, breaking down into something else, and it's a layer of interactions that we're not familiar with and how it works with physics. So they might have just created the right conditions by happenstance, and we're not able to create those in a lab because we don't know what the fuck they are. So it's one of those really interesting things where there's a lot of people that are now taking it seriously because they're going, okay, well, there should be something here. So I don't know. I'm hoping for.
And that could tie back to the possible electric universe theory.
Could.
Or
but what's great about
the possibility of an
ether. All you would need is pure zinc too.
That's what they used. I remember seeing this kid it was like this teenager kid, and he makes cold fusion in a jar in his fucking garage with like zinc in a mason jar. And I don't know, man. But
I mean,
the kid's smart as fuck, and he made this shit. I don't know, but
it's so like the idea of being able to get more energy out than you put in, like to me, that doesn't make any sense, having like a background in physics. Like, it doesn't make any sense because like that would be like having a cup of coffee get cold and then get warm again without you heating it up.
Well, cold fusion isn't that idea. I think what cold fusion is, it's essentially doing like you would a nuclear bomb, a nuclear reactor type thing.
Pulling energy in.
Instead of having heat, you're dealing with heat, and you're dealing with very low radioactive particles.
Well, like
I think Ren was pointing to the fact that our physics is wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pointing to my main thing is, okay, entropy is a thing. Like,
I see what you're saying.
Experience time, right? Like, things move from more ordered states to more chaotic states. And unless that can be reversed, like things like cold fusion, or at least the idea that you get in more energy than you put, or get out more energy than you put in, won't ever happen. Now, I'm all for the idea that you could have an incredibly efficient power source that we don't know about yet, things like maybe 0-point energy or something like that, where you're able to pull a massive amount of energy out of almost nothing. But you still have to have something,
Mm-hmm.
you still have to take something, turn it into
Oh, yeah. I think
But-
what you're saying is just, the idea of free energy really isn't real.
Yeah,
It
but
just-
There's no such thing as free energy.
yeah, but I totally believe in the idea of having energy that is so extremely efficient that it is nearly free.
Like water power, like
Yeah.
a water wheel in a stream alone can
Creates
generate
energy. Yeah.
that can fill batteries.
I mean,
For
I think
sure.
the future too will be us building like energy sources in space. Like there's so much of solar radiation that we could absorb from our sun that would effectively be free, that we could then beam back down to Earth, or have like, I don't know, you could have like a stationary mirror platform in space that then has like cables that can then connect back down to the planet or something
We
like
could
that.
build a Dyson sphere around
Or like a
something.
Dyson sphere, yeah.
One of
Or
my
like-
favorites is very simply up on the space shuttle when they started rotating a tether throughout the spaceship to try to go through the Earth's magnetic field. They ended up creating such a high electrical charge that it was beyond what they had planned for, and it burnt the cables out that was tethering it, and it flew off into space. So, I mean, right there, you have there's all these aspects of free energy, but nobody wants to spend the money to do it because they fucking make money by charging you for it.
Yeah, and there's also problems too with large energy production, mainly in how do you store that energy. Like that's the one big thing, is that battery technology is still in its infancy. Like we produce tons of energy on this planet, we just lose most of it in transmission or storage.
That's true. And one of the big things is they've started to do, oh Jesus Christ, what is it? They're now talking about actually having room temperature semiconductors. That technology is possibly coming online in the near future with everything that I've seen in graphene and what they're being able to get it done on the small scale. That would be a huge step. The other thing is there's new advancements in doing DC energy transmission over lines. It's much more efficient than AC energy transmission, kind of going back to the old Tesla models. But there are some batteries that they have that are very efficient that use like sulfur and salt water and these things that are built in these giant clay containers, older type of batteries that last like 10 or 20 years that get charged up. You'll also see a lot of places out west. What they'll do is they have these things that freeze like ice and things. So they'll hold things in thermal, or they'll hold things in heat, and then use it for, air conditioning or heating systems and all these different types of energy storage. Or there's things I've seen that will charge things up in capacitors and different things. So, yeah, I don't know. I really think that the storage technology is, you're right, it's the big one, but I think that we're going to be able to overcome that.
Yeah, I wonder what ever came of the there's a whole Google project for a while that they were building like potential energy collectors on like waves based on wave energy. Like so that you built this platform off the coast of somewhere, and the waves going back and forth all day, create the energy, because there's an enormous amount of kinetic energy that we get just from our moon going around the planet every day, and we're not harnessing that at all, really. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that we could do on this planet right now to get energy. But again, the biggest problem is not in the production of the energy, but rather the transmission and storage of it. That's where you lose most of your gain.
I think there's okay, so first of all, any kind of device that we come up with will have to be deployed per home. Think of it that way, right? So you've got some kind of generator in your house. This thing, the problem with the free energy is that you might have free power, but you don't have free work. So whatever power is generated needs to be converted into, say, if you want to run your house, got to be converted into AC. That's compatible with 110 or 220, whatever you got, whatever it takes, right? 110, 220, whatever it takes.
You got to run your dryer.
So that's the problem right now, is we could generate the shit, but we can't convert it well or efficiently. That A. B, I think that there is a way to overcome the lens law.
What's the lens law?
With magnetism. It's the force that's created to repel a magnetic force. When you
the in-between?
When you hold two magnets together, that force, right? I think there's a way to overcome that, and I think that's the key to free power, to harnessing that, because that force is exerted by nature, not by anything that you have. So it's free in that aspect, right? And if you can overcome it, which would mean to harness it, that would allow you to create a perpetual motion machine. If you could scale it properly, you can generate power off of that.
Are you talking about like using like the Casimir plates, like to generate energy based on van der Waals forces, or
Something like that, but not exactly. I'm envisioning something that's more of a magnetic vortex. It's a vortex that contains some kind of engine.
I'm reading up on this thing right now as we're through the EU project, like the Thunderbolts. It's plasma. It's like it's a misconception. Plasma is the most common state of matter, and all objects in the universe move through a sea of plasma. So through similar, in some ways, a gas of plasma is partically ionized. Freely moving charged particles give it a unique ability to conduct electrical currents. Just like you were saying, it's the in-between with this vast amount of power. It's there. Like...
Yeah, it's there. The guy I was talking about who's done this lens work, his name's Babcock. Again, another Babcock. Paul Babcock. And he's found a loophole in physics, essentially.
Yeah, and it's like these electrical currents in the plasma create magnetism fields that confine and shape plasma activity. So, it's like in this way, the electric force can organize elaborate cosmic structures or whatever. Yeah, so it's an intense electromagnetism emission.
So I linked you guys in the chat to about like the Casimir effect. If you guys aren't familiar with that, but the basic idea is that you have two uncharged conductive plates in a vacuum placed a few nanometers apart, and in classical physics, the lack of any sort of external field means that there shouldn't be any field between the plates, and no force would be measured between them. What they found out, though, when these were studied in a quantum electrodynamic vacuum, it was seen that the plates do affect the virtual photons, which constitute the field, and it does generate a net force, basically either an attraction or repulsion, depending on the specific arrangement. So the idea is that you have basically these two metal plates. There shouldn't be anything happening between them, according to classical physics, but when in reality, you do have a force produced that is equivalent to about 1 atmosphere of pressure. That literally makes no sense. They still don't know where this force is coming from. There's it could be because of vacuum energy, relativistic van der Waals force, or coupled to ground state energy, but they don't know necessarily where it comes. And I mean, I've for a while been fascinated by the Casimir effect and how it could possibly be used for power generation, but the forces that are produced are so low that I don't know how big you would have to scale the thing to actually get a net effect out of it.
What gets me is if you look at really high powered, to go back to Jerry's idea of magnets, like really high powered neodymium magnets, when you push them together, there's so much force there, you can't physically push them together. And that, since I've been a kid, has always stuck in my mind that I believe that there can be free harnessed energy because there's such power within these things that are stationary, even just in the friction or the repulsiveness between them, that it boggles my mind that there wouldn't be able to be an ability to harness that force that's continually pushing out. It's like you have two garden hoses and you push them up against each other. You can harness the water, and you have these two fields that are pushing up against each other. Like, my brain doesn't see how there can't be a way to do the same thing. Obviously, we haven't
think about static electricity as well. It also pushes objects against each other. They repel with complete static energy.
Well, that actually, all matter repels all matter with static energy. When you put your hands together, you don't really touch your hands. You're touching a layer of ions.
Your particles anyway. You're held together.
Well, here's a crazy one. When you watch geckos run up a wall, how they're actually sticking is through the same type of effect that you're talking about, the Casimir effect. I don't know if it's exactly the same, but when atoms touch each other, there's an attraction, a slight magnetic attraction type thing between them. And because they have so many points coming off of their fingers, there's such an attraction. It's not actually friction. It's the touching on a quantum level. And that's why their fingers, if you see them on slow-mo, they roll down like a fruit roll-up and then roll back up just to touch. It's like sticky tape.
Yeah, that's I read about that a long time ago. That's really fascinating how geckos use basically like quantum effects in order to climb something. It's like you'd look at them and never suspect that's what's going on, but yeah.
And I think this is something you can see on your own if you go and like just turn water on a very slow drizzle on a very slow stream and put your finger up against it. You'll actually be able to see the water bend around your finger and move, and you can push it and it'll bend out away from you.
I wonder if that's more like.
I guess it could be an aerodynamic effect, but
yeah, I think that might be more because of like surface tension and because of like you do have sort of like a layer of gas that surrounds parts of your body. Like that's why you can like
put
what is it, liquid nitrogen in your mouth, and it doesn't hurt you because like you have like a basically like a layer of gas coating the inside of your mouth that
It
like
will
protects
freeze dry your tongue instantly.
No, it won't.
The liquid if you do it, but you're talking the gas.
I double dog dare you.
I'm talking about the liquid.
Dude, you cannot put liquid nitrogen in your mouth.
Yes,
At first it won't, but if you leave it there for more than a couple seconds, it will totally fuck you up.
Yeah, if you leave it there because it evaporates, like the gas, the
Exactly.
protective layer will evaporate eventually. Yes, but
Okay,
you can
okay.
put it in your mouth for short periods of time, and it won't.
Don't try this at home.
Spit out,
man.
just like how people can spit fire.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
it's
different.
it's somewhat similar though. They're not like whatever they're drinking or putting into their mouth is not immediately absorbed.
I like when they put things in their mouth.
You good, Jerry? Here's your video.
Way to make it creepy, right?
Giggity.
There you go. Post it in chat. You can literally put it in your mouth and then like blow it out like smoke.
That's crazy talk.
Yeah,
Yep.
I wouldn't try that. I'd fuck it
Well,
up.
neither would I.
I'd be the
I've heard-
double dog dare you kid that had a popsicle tongue.
Oh, I'd do it.
stick to
Stuck.
vaping.
Yeah.
I'd do it. I'm wild.
Just
as
like
hell.
not everyone can breathe fire.
Well, it's like what's his name that climbs Everest and with no
Wim
boots
Hof.
on and shit. Wim Hof, yeah. Fucking-
Is he
You
dead
just-
yet?
train your body, man. It's like
No, Wim Hof's amazing. And the fact that he's actually getting studied by science is probably one of the greatest things towards medicine that we're going to have here coming up.
Absolutely.
this guy's the proto-human.
You familiar with Wim Hof there, Ren?
Yeah, I'm familiar with him. I think he's fascinating.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's what's crazy. So many people didn't believe him. And then, he's there at university in an ice, chest, dropping his, temperature down, core temperature down to like 74 degrees. And then within like 5 or 6 minutes, he brings it back up to like 90 something. And they're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's amazing things people can do with their body using biofeedback that we just barely understand right now,
This is why I think if there's an asteroid or some sort of global disaster, most people are going to fucking die and be weak, but there's going to be so many people that because they're forced into these new environments, they're going to become Wim Hofs. Like we're going to have all these, I mean that like, if we all of a sudden had an ice
forced
age, guess what?
evolution.
Wim Hof
A
can
fight or
fucking
flight.
ice
It's
age.
fight or flight. It's fight or flight. Yeah.
It's a forced evolution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It totally is.
Yeah.
You're constantly in a fight or flight mode, I would imagine.
You guys all know who Cliff High is, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Does anyone read his Alta reports?
No.
I just know him. I know of him.
He puts out a report every month
yeah.
called the Alta Reports, and it stands for something that I don't really know. But basically, he's written a set of web bots which collect data on the internet and analyze the linguistic data within those data sets to predict the future.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that, yeah.
It's very cool, and he's rarely wrong.
Wow.
Specifically when it comes to cryptocurrencies. That aside, he has identified coming in the first quarter of this year a global emotional or psychic event
Well, you know what?
that's going to change everything.
I mean, if you listen to
It's the
there's
name
one
of
of the
the
recent
game.
episodes of Rune Soup, and they were talking about Austin Kopic's kind of
Mhm.
astrological predictions for 2018. They mentioned that there probably would be some sort of large crash or event happening around May, with it recovering in July.
There's been a lot of talk that the bond market's been ready to drop out since like October, November.
Oh, bonds? Yeah.
Well,
And-
his information did not specifically say monetary.
Yeah.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is that's been a lot of people have been looking for that shoe to drop, and there's been some markers in the market that could indicate that. But
How long have you been hearing that? They've been saying that for years.
yeah, for 2 or 3 years.
Well, Cliff High says about the crash is that it's not going to happen. And specifically not going to happen because the cryptos are acting as a cushion for the crash, not allowing it to crash.
I don't.
Providing a transition mechanism.
For some markets, it probably is.
Yeah,
for the U.S. dollar.
I'm kind of hoping that I'm sort of saving things, and I mean maybe these predictions won't come true, but like if a big crash does happen in May, that's going to be the perfect time to buy.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
But
I'm kind of looking.
I just want to stress that he kind of made it sound like it was going to be a woo type of thing. Whatever that may be.
Dude, I'm convinced we're in the middle of that. Like, people joked about, 2012 and the Mayans, but everything that's going on right now, we're living in a completely different world. Reality TV stars as presidents, disclosures coming out. Everything that would have been crazy a decade ago is up on its end. So that's why I'm convinced it's something flipped in.
Look at it on a secular basis. So if you remember back when you couldn't even swear on TV, and now they say shit and fucking piss and everything, right? So how long did that take, right?
But it's cyclical, because if you go back to like Lucille,
I'm saying this: the time between the start and end of the cycles is getting shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. It's all shrinking. It's all collapsing into a singularity that we're moving quickly towards.
I could feel that for sure. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that whole energy of everything is just like really cranked up.
Totally ramped up. I mean, I don't know. For me, I feel this shit daily now, dude. It's fucking crazy. Like,
yep. It stopped for a week or two, and now it started up again.
Yeah, it's crazy, dude.
It started actually with the new moon, but.
And I don't know. Yeah, I mean, we've been in all this shit forever, right? So then all of a sudden now I'm completely full blown into this consciousness thing. And why? Yeah, why? Like you're just saying, there's something gonna happen. Something is gonna happen.
Something's building up.
Right.
That energy expresses itself as
and there's just so many, like Nomad says, so much distraction. I mean, it's off the charts. And then even like Adam was saying, like you go down any path, there's a polar opposite of the exact same thing. And it's so hard. I don't know. For some reason, all I trust is ancient times and what I exist in right now and what I'm trying to do. I don't know. That's the only thing I trust.
I'll tell you one thing. The last time this happened, and a check between all the people that I know that can feel shit like this, we all agreed, we felt it, and then October 1st happened, Vegas.
Right. Yeah,
remember?
Dude. Oh my God, you're spot on with that, dude. Yeah.
And then it calmed down till January 1st, till the full moon, the super moon, and boom, it started building again.
So I don't know.
Not Saturn and Capricorn. Yeah, I think maybe when Saturn went into Capricorn, that's when it started building up.
And maybe it is because we're talking about it. So this consciousness thing is just building and building, and we're all finding these pieces and parts. Granted, we're just in the group we have of let's say 50 people or something that we kind of know that are
12.
No, dude. I mean, when we do the shows, we do all these hangouts. We got let's just say 50 people. I mean. And if we all know this, how many more people, and then 90% of the planet doesn't give a fuck because they're just there.
NPCs. They're NPCs.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's so weird. It doesn't make, I don't know. But we're feeling this pressure because we're all soaking in and breaking down this knowledge, and so many other people are too. And we're watching videos, we're gathering knowledge, we're inputting knowledge. Like,
I'll say one thing though.
I think even a lot of the profane are still starting to wake up, but we're on the next level.
Maybe that's what's happening. It's just more building. There's more of it building. Like,
yep.
I forgot what I was gonna say.
And then it's just gonna blow, dude. I don't know. Yes, something is gonna change. I don't know.
Well, James, since you're on this kick about like astral travel and stuff, I really want to get like you and Grim and some other people together and start doing some teaching you guys how to do remote viewing.
Oh, I'm down. Yeah,
Ren, we've been doing that on FTK with Justin with some amazing results.
That's awesome.
Like, we were doing it with packages getting sent and stuff, and really spot on.
The way I've been doing it recently is I have a random image generator that generates a group of random distinct images, and then I put them in an encrypted zip file with a
Johnny
password.
Mnemonic style.
Love it.
And then I send the viewer the remote, like the encrypted zip file, then have them view the zip file as the coordinate, like the file name. And then, once they're done and I've sent it off to the analyst, because I run a strict like protocol, like I have an analyst, I have like the viewer and a monitor and all that. And then, because I want to maintain separation from myself, from like the other person.
Put double blind. Keep it double blind.
Yeah. Like I provide the zip file to the monitor, then the monitor provides the file to the viewer, and then they take that to the analyst, and then the analyst returns me the results, and then I provide all parties with the key to the zip file. So
is the target what's contained within, or the password part of it, or what?
No, it's the image that's within the zip file.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the target.
Well, dude, I'm down with that. And Adam, if you still, I've heard you, or I've seen you talking about that, and I just, I would totally try. I got to learn this whole target thing. Then after that, I think.
Yeah, it's been great. Failed one, a dick painting, and like this last, or a dick drawing. Yeah, this last one was really great. I sent Justin one, which was all like shells, sea urchin spines, shark teeth bracelets, a little alligator claw, like a real alligator claw, these things, a little wooden dick, all these funny little things. And when he remote viewed it, one of the things that he kept coming upon is he came upon a dragon, and I had a photo of an alligator in there plus the claw, and then he kept saying serial killer. I'm imagining a serial killer. I'm like, holy fucking shit, I sent you like this bag of just body parts. So he's like Jack the Ripper, serial killer. So yeah, we keep having these nice little hits. And the one before it, Justin, like Napoleon had drawn in this jar these two eyeballs and made them out of clay. So they were like two clay eyeballs with the veins trailing behind them. It's in the show notes. And then Justin drew inside the jar two shoes with the laces going all the, tied up and all stringy. So when you looked at them from the front, it was a very similar type of drawing.
Yeah, he got the impression of the shape, but not the actual object.
Yeah, exactly. He made the assumption about what the object was, but the shape and the way that it was all structured was the same.
And that's the way Monocle talks about that a lot. But go ahead, Jerry.
If you're going to do any kind of remote viewing stuff, you should talk to that guy.
Oh, gosh.
He's a CRV teacher.
Who's that?
Oh, really? He is?
Yeah. That guy. That dude named that guy.
Let's get a fucking group together. Let's start doing this shit. Let's create a badass like stable of psychics, and we can.
I'm all in for it. I'm all in for it.
Absolutely.
Just with mailing packages back and forth.
Yeah, let's just use
send them in the mail and remote view them as they get to you.
I was talking to him the other night, and I've had the impression for a long time that creating a target, when you, as whatever your role is, not the viewer and not the monitor, when you're creating the target, you're actually creating a sigil of sorts, which makes a beacon in space-time, a vector point for the viewer to reach or see, or however that works, the connection there. It creates what I would call a servitor, if you want. It will take your consciousness there. But because you know it, you're encoding it in the symbols that you're choosing. It's really it's a hypersigil.
Well, that's why, at least in the SRI protocol, you don't like the target creator, whoever creates the target packet, assigns it a random, like uses a random number generator to assign it its code word or its like coordinate, right? Because that is a possibility that you could have psychic leakage. If you don't have strict controls on it, you could be just psychically projecting the image to the person who's doing the remote viewing. And that's a possibility that is accounted for in the SRI protocol.
Wow.
I wasn't suggesting that as much as the sigil, when viewed by the remote viewer, becomes activated.
Like in my case, it's always physical locations. So generally, like the latest target packet I used, I found an image of a waterfall, an image of a large pylon, like a tower, of a bridge in a city, like distinct places that are different enough from each other that like I would be able to recognize which one they remote viewed, but not similar enough to be confused for one another.
Yeah, it's like level 1 training. An area instead of like Adam was doing, like a fucking claw, like a reptile claw. Yeah,
I would love to learn how to do it. I've even written to Farsight, to Courtney Brown, because
Courtney Brown Institute. Yeah,
because we're right here. I'm like, teach me how to do this shit.
Yeah. Actually doing it is easy. I mean, you just literally, you just like take 15 minutes, you clear your mind, you just meditate, and you just try to feel what it is. I mean,
Right.
it's as simple as that. There's no real.
You gather data then, right?
It's
So
just like trying to tune into your psychic intuition.
yeah, because these dudes don't they fill out shit for a long time and then they start breaking it down. You know, like
Well, so if you're the viewer, basically what you do is sit in a nice, quiet room.
Yeah.
You'd say, okay, you'd have your monitor with you, and your monitor would say, what is contained inside this zip file, if you were doing my method. And then the person would basically sit there, meditate, just kind of think about it, and just write down whatever they feel. Like, remote viewing, I think a lot of people misunderstand it. The word is actually not that great. I don't like the word remote viewing, but that's just what people use, because
it's
you're not
feeling, right? You feel soft. You feel this. You feel sharp.
Exactly.
You feel,
Plus, there's also, you imagine, you can see things in your mind's eye. You can envision or imagine scenes, and that's
so then you use this target, and it's like a
imagine what this target looks like. Kind of thing.
And then that target, like when you focus at it, brings you like Ren was talking. Like if you're doing this astral, it forces you to this area. Like, is that how the target works, or is that like a safe word?
Guide your imagination.
Yeah. Remote viewing is more like using your imagination. Out of body stuff, like astral stuff. That is like actually going there. They're two distinct kind of things. Like remote viewing is not like astral travel.
They're cousins.
They're sort of
What if
maybe playing on the same thing, but like for a long time.
Basic core rule set.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean.
In a way, if you're a legitimate remote viewer, though, aren't you
astral traveling?
No, you're not.
You're somewhat.
It's so weird.
Going out of body in some way.
You're not. And I only know this because of Joe McMoneagle's books about this. He's had both out-of-body experiences and he's remote viewed, and he said unequivocally they're two totally different processes, and like the way it feels is totally different.
Oh wow, okay.
We ask people that on our show, and they've all said the same thing.
Yeah.
So you just exist in this place as you're gathering data compared to viewing in your light body or whatever.
Yeah, if you astrally project yourself there or travel out of body there, it's like you're physically there and you can interact and everything. Remote viewing, you still know that you're like wherever you are when you're remote viewing.
So that's why they're able to go back to the 50s. You're able to teleport yourself back to the 50s and see the assassination of JFK or whatever.
Look at it this way. These guys are using their minds. Imagine if it was technology enhanced.
Wow.
So can you use
taking
some sort of
psilocybin
astral projection to remote view at the same time?
You can use astral projection to gather information about a target location.
See, that's what I was thinking.
But
like
the probabilities are lower that it's accurate.
Okay.
But the actual process of remote viewing is different in the way it feels. Like when you go out of body and actually go to a place, that's like a whole physical gamut of sensations and stuff. And it's like you're physically going there. When you remote view, you know you're still sitting in your desk, right? You don't like physically go anywhere. You're seeing everything in your head. Like you don't even have to close your eyes to remote view.
It's like daydreaming, yeah.
Yeah,
and you have like a pen and paper, and you can just start.
Take notes.
Take notes, right? Yeah. Okay.
I had this kind of call it an epiphany or whatever thought over the summer that I happened to know. I was trying to guess which elevator bank at work would be open when I walked out. Right, there's 6 elevators, and every day I tried to guess which one would be open, and I had a pretty good track record for a while. And I realized that if I didn't try to think of what one was, if I set the intention and then quieted, the first thing that came back was the right one. But if I second guessed it or changed it, then it was wrong. So I think some of that goes on with remote viewing. If you clear your mind, you get that target. Give me the first image that comes to your mind. Somehow the target invokes that process or aids it to let you envision that first thing. But I think it's also that if that's true, that your psychic instincts kick in immediately. Like maybe you get answers to every question you ask, but it's so muddled up by all this other crap, by the distraction of life that you don't hear it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what Ingo Swann called analytical overlay. The idea that when you remote view, you can't come to any conclusions about what you're seeing, and you have to stay completely objective. You have to report exactly what you feel without putting your own emotions or your own expectations into
Is that why he ran away from the aliens on the moon?
Yeah.
Pussy.
Yeah, they didn't want to rent. Well, it's because they were too sexy. You know,
Yeah, dude.
No, they noticed him. That's why he left.
They were
Dude,
big
this
hunky
party's
guys.
too hopping. I'm out of here. Oh.
He goes, "Man, get over
Nope,
here,
that
you
wasn't
sexy
you
man."
that they turned and looked at him.
Well, I mean, that's
Right.
probably is the reason Ingo perceived them as like these big, naked, hunky guys, because he was a very gay man.
No, I think he said they were grays.
No, they weren't grays. They were like human beings.
What if they were the Aborigines?
Maybe. I mean, they were literally like naked human beings, like big, strong, muscular guys on the
Do you
moon.
think they were in the astral type thing? You know, like they're projecting too. Like if you're in this state, are they in the same state? You know, of mind, body, soul.
Maybe. Said there's creatures that live in the fourth dimension.
Like we were talking, like so if you're traveling and you're chasing these things and you're chasing that kid or he's chasing you, you're like, so he's viewing some shit on fucking the moon. And maybe they're in the same state because aren't we?
What if he's playing a video game?
Because everything exists at once, right?
Right.
Well, I told you about like there's been another instance where I've run into somebody that I was almost sure was also traveling out of body.
Yeah.
Where I had an out of body experience. I was staying at a girlfriend's house a long time ago. It was one of my earliest experiences. And I was like floating around in this park and I saw a guy sitting on a bench and I was going to try to be like cheeky. And since I'm like, I assumed I was invisible to him, I was just going to be like, and see
right.
And I started getting close and he just fucking turned around and looked at me and his eyes got really wide. And I was like, does he see me?
Totally weird.
And then he took off. He flew off, and I started chasing him. I was like, wait! I gotta fucking ask you so many questions. And I was like chasing him, and he outran me.
That's just like in the movie Ghost.
Yeah, and I was like,
it'd be interesting to know what he saw.
Yeah, what did I look like?
He saw, like what are you projecting as yourself?
Yeah, what the fuck scared him so bad?
What I've read is that your default, until you change it or learn how to master your astral appearance, you look like.
Well, I know that
Relatively.
like when I had an experience recently where did I guys tell you about the thing that jumped on my back? I know I wrote about it on Twitter, but I don't know. If
Holy shit! I don't know. Remember?
No.
So I was lying in bed. This is several weeks ago. I've been having a lot of out of body experiences lately. Some voluntary and some involuntary.
Something's happening. It's all happening. It's all happening
a lot lately. So I was laying in bed. It was very early morning. I'd been up all night. Couldn't go to sleep. I finally started to go to sleep. Like I started drifting off, and I was like laying on my side, like on one end of the bed, and I heard like this whoosh of like wind in the room, and that's usually something that happens to me when I'm having sleep paralysis. There's a lot of noise involved, and then I heard like a woman's voice from behind me, and I couldn't tell what she was saying, but then like I heard her say like, "No, don't leave, stay here with me," and I felt like the bed moved down as if somebody was crawling into bed with me, and I felt a fucking arm slide up around me like she was gonna be spooning with me. Like her arm came around me and she was like, "Stay here with me, don't leave."
Was it warm?
No, it was cold as fuck. And at this point I'm like freaking out because I can't move to see what is behind me. You know, I'm just like stuck, like paralyzed. But this startled me enough that like I just tried to stand up really fast, but instead of standing up in my physical body, I stood out of my body. And I turned around, or I started to turn around, but before I could, something jumped on my back from behind, like just wrapped its arms around me, and I was like, ugh. And I started like stumbling around my room in an out-of-body state, like with this thing just like clamped onto my fucking back, like trying to pull it off. And I was like panicking because I'd never had anything just like attack me like that before. And yeah, exactly. I was like, okay, what do people do in this situation? I was like, okay, some people call on the name of Christ. So I was like, in the name of Jesus, I tell you to get off my back. And it didn't do anything because I don't really believe in Jesus Christ. So it didn't really help.
That's why it didn't work.
Yeah,
You
so I
could
was
have
like,
gotten
Did
rid
the
of it
belief
yourself.
just crushed you?
That's
just
what
have
it
to
comes down to,
imagine
the
like
belief.
emanating an explosive nuclear blast, and it would be, you know.
yeah.
You
So
have
that
to
didn't
use
work.
your superpowers.
And
That
then you
didn't
wake
work.
up with radiation poisoning.
So I finally just like said, like I heard my voice come out like a million voices all at once, and I said, "I abjure you, like I tell you to get the fuck off my back." And I felt like I was peeling it off, and I threw it onto the bed.
Was it like a jellyfish?
Yes, actually, I looked at it, and what was
Yep.
really on my back was like it looked like a black lump, just
Yep.
and it had like tentacles and stuff all over it. And
Those are the evil entities that exist in the lower fourth astral dimension.
yeah, it was just like a lump of black tentacles and stuff. And I got incredibly pissed off because I was like, how dare this fucking thing try to do this to me? And like, I just saw my arms, like, you know, I had like my astral arms. They just started getting bigger and bigger and like just like huge black claws. And I just ran over to this thing and I just grabbed it and started tearing it apart. And I just like felt my mouth like open, and I just started shoving it down my mouth and like eating it. And I still remember the texture of it. It was like sand inside of spandex. It was like gritty on the inside. And I just like swallowed the whole thing and just like ate it.
Why would you do that?
Because that was what I wanted to do to it. I wanted to destroy it. I wanted to destroy it.
Consume it.
Consume it. Eat it.
Those are, from what I've researched, these entities that exist there that suck off of people's energy, like they attach to your aura. And now that you've seen one, don't be surprised to see them on people's backs in real life.
Yeah, I just wanted to show that motherfucker who was the real boss of me, and it just like I can't even describe like how angry I was.
Good. That is the proper attitude. It would probably be hard for them to feed off of you in that state.
Is this something that is supposedly feeding off of a lot of people, and they just don't know it? And it's
most people.
Wow.
And I think I actually saw it a couple times before. Like I had an out-of-body experience a couple weeks prior to that one, where there was basically a large black orb just hovering near my bed, almost like it was watching me. And it had like kind of like I described it originally as like a black fireball because it looked like kind of like it was fire. But when I think about it, it was more like kind of like tendrils or something. And it was just hanging out. I kind of ignored it because I was like, it's just one of those things that float around in the astral. I'm just not going to bother it, you know? And I went and did other stuff. But maybe it was scoping me out or like try to figure out if it could make a move on me.
That's crazy.
Do you keep a journal?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Anytime I have an out-of-body experience, I immediately like force myself to get the fuck out of bed and like write down everything that happened.
Yeah, that's what I need to start doing.
I've only recently started to remember my dreams, so I've started recording recently.
Good. Yeah. I mean, like it comes in waves for me where I can see everything and I can lucid, you know, I can control anything in my dreams. And then there'll be like a couple weeks where I don't remember a single one, you know. But I probably could wake up at that time, like you said, force yourself, wake up like, oh my God, I just had a crazy ass dream, and try to vaguely, or if it was really vibrant, you know, like you could totally tell what was happening, write that story down, and then pass out again. But
yeah, that's what I did. I went back to sleep after I ordered everything down. And this, I think what shocked me so much about this experience is like, so far in all of my astral sort of out-of-body experiences, I've basically been like top dog. I've never had anything fuck with me like that. I've had things try. Like I remember like several months ago, I had one where I like went to my dad's house in Alabama, and it was like nighttime, and I saw like my cat that lives there like walking along the driveway, and I was like, I'm gonna go down and see if it can see me, you know. And it couldn't see me. I was like waving at it and stuff, but then I noticed like all around me there were like things stalking me, like they looked like big shadowy dogs, and they were just kind of like circling around me. I was like a pack of wolves or something, and I started laughing, and I was like, you motherfuckers don't scare me.
Yeah.
And I just looked at one of them and just waved my hand at it like that, and it just flew off, just dissipated in the dust, you know. And I was like, you know, you motherfuckers don't scare me. Like, you know,
the thing is though, that those things are everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
That's nasty.
It is nasty.
Yeah, I'm like,
but
I'm a human
the
being.
fact that you're able to like fling them off, that is impressive.
Physically grab an entity and
Everyone can. They just have to
eat it.
Yep, everyone
can. It's just that most people are terrified by these things, and they love terror.
Yeah.
Could it be possible that these entities could coerce animals into attacking people?
Maybe. I don't know.
Not specifically the ones we're discussing now. Other ones can.
And I'm half jesting, but some, you know, there's these weird things where like we just put up some giant spiders in the bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. They're fucking. One of them's like 2 feet, not 2 feet. It's probably like 20 inches big. And we have another one that's like 10 inches big. Another one that's like 6 inches big that I got to put up. They're horrifying. But literally, like a week after I put them up, I got bit on the neck by a spider. and I've been attacked by a plethora of animals in my life. I'm going, maybe there's something that's like directing creatures at me.
Well, Jerry's
You
right. I
never
mean,
know.
when you're in that state, I think a lot of people. That's when I was so sad watching that documentary, The Nightmare, about these people be confronted by like these, shadow monster, like
Run,
shadow
but you can't
intruders.
hide, bitch.
And I just want to tell these people, like, they're just trying to scare you. Like they're nothing. Like you're a human being with a human soul. Like you can tell them to fuck off.
They're
Because
NPCs.
when you're in that state, when you're in the out of body state, your, I guess, like power comes from your imagination. Like it's like
So true.
you are as strong as
That's
you
what it's all
believe you
about.
are, and it's like that they try. It's like a battle of wills, basically. Like
Mm-hmm.
they try to like make you feel small and tiny and powerless, and if you feel that way, then that's what you'll be.
The
But if you feel
entities
like
aren't
you're
happy about you
strong
telling
and
us this.
powerful,
Yeah, they're cutting
then
you off.
they're nothing.
You totally,
They
you
really
totally
are
know
nothing.
about it out there. It was funny.
I tossed the
Yeah,
spiders in the
they're-
Discord chats.
I was just gonna say that.
The entities aren't happy
Yeah,
at
apparently.
all. Dude, you're absolutely right about all of that.
I mean, I
But
fully
in-
expect to eventually come across something in the astral that I can't handle, but that hasn't happened so far.
Yeah, that's what I heard about Sinbad, the comedian. He used to do this like really good, and then he goes so far, and he got like gut punched by an entity and all this shit, and
won't
he
go
was like,
back.
"Fuck it, I'm done." He never did it ever again after that.
Huh.
It fucked him up so bad. Like,
wow.
Now, do you keep in your mind when you're traveling or lucid dreaming to try to communicate, if you can, with other entities? Try to pull back knowledge or information?
I would if I ever came across anything that didn't seem like it was trying to fuck with me. And maybe that's my own mindset affecting it, But it seems like the kid, I didn't tell you how I actually got away from that kid. But
and even when tell us that, but I mean, maybe everything's
No,
gonna
he was
fuck with you.
saving it.
That's the nature of the realm.
Well, I was in this place and it looked, when I got sucked into it, it kind of looked like a daycare or like a childcare center. Like it was like concrete walls that were brightly colored and there were like people milling about. And this kid was like sitting on a couch, he just had this like really smug look on his face. And I just immediately went up to him and I'm like, because I tried to go through the wall and I couldn't. Like the wall was like solid and I was like, what the fuck? I'm supposed to be able to just go through stuff. So I knew that I was like stuck here for some reason, or he was keeping me there. So I went over to him and I was like, let me out. And he was like, no, I refuse. And there was like a gun on the table. And maybe I just made that gun appear, but I just remember it being there. And I just grabbed it and I put it right to his left thigh. And I fucking pulled the trigger and like blew up his thigh.
wow.
And he started screaming. And like I held him down and I put it on his other thigh. And I was like, you want to lose your other fucking leg too? You better let me out. And that's when I woke up in my bed.
Hey guys, I think we need to call the FBI real quick.
Just murdered an entity.
Well, he showed up again. I mean, and the second time he saw me, he tried to get away because I guess he still knew how angry I was, and that's why he was running. But
yeah, that's why
I just keep remembering fucking Flatliners with that kid terrorizing Kiefer Sutherland.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I would say everything has a reminder. So one of the first shows we ever did, I told the story about like how being lucid and you can control your dreams, and I tell my kids this stuff because when it happened to me, that's what I can relate to it. That's why I want to learn this stuff to pass it down, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, man, dude, don't be scared when you're dreaming and shit. I was like, you can fucking control that shit.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, Freddy Krueger used to chase me all the time, but I would turn around and just say like, no. And it was like a power blast and you could fucking just knock his ass out. But yeah, there are times where you feel, I guess it would be in a state of like paralysis where you can't do anything, mentally, like you're just like, man, I can't do it. But those are the fights you have to battle and win. Like,
yeah, generally the dreams I've had where something bad would happen to me, it was because I wasn't lucid. Like I didn't realize that it was a dream because it was.
Yeah, that's the difference. Like,
yeah, like I've had dreams that like I've been like mugged or I've been like, like
sure,
at gunpoint, or I've been like shot in the back of the head, and like I couldn't do anything about it because I thought it was real.
I had that. Yeah, the gun thing. I've had that happen.
Yeah. But if I knew if I'd been lucid, I would have been able
you
to
could have controlled that, right? Yeah, right. Yeah, there is. I think I can, figure the difference most of the time if I'm really controlling it or not. There's like these. It's like these.
Maybe that's part of the interesting lesson there. That in a real world situation, to get out of things, you have to be dynamic in the situation to control it.
Yeah, it's like training.
And you try to ride certain things, you're going to get fucked.
I don't know why I'm thinking this kind of training, but I am. It's like weird, like
because that's what they taught you in the 20 and back program.
Sure, it's the interest factor and things. I have a
training.
Yeah, but I have a crazy ass mind of adventure and not wanting to and soaking in knowledge. So it's like I can experience everything. I don't know. Anybody could. It's everything. Everything exists at once. So maybe if we can tap into it, and everyone has their own experience, everyone has their own soul and their own body, and in firing off with these entities that are involved too. It's a whole nother realm, a whole nother aspect of life, dude. Like, I find that just fascinating. Like, there's way more than just this meat sack.
I really want to meet an entity in one of these states that is communicative with me and can tell. Like, I want
if you could control one.
Yeah, like I want to meet like young Philemon. Like, I want to have sort of like, I've never had a mentor, like a spirit guide. Like,
dude, yeah, like who the dude we've been talking about all night with the astral stuff.
Matt Belair.
No.
The other.
Robert
Monroe.
Yeah.
I mean, he had so many people he went and visited, so many planes of existence. Like, it was off the fucking scale, dude, of like how mentally like you can handle it. I mean, he was doing this shit like 4 or 5 times a night. Like, like just traveling everywhere. He's like, oh, I want to meet Ted, my neighbor who died like 30 years ago. He went and met this dude. He had to figure out where he was, but yeah, that was the weird thing. He like, okay, how do you find a person in this astral? And he had to figure it out, and he did it. Like,
yeah, like my little brother, he's every time he has an out of body, he has more than I do, and every time he has an out of body experience, he a lot of the time, this like sort of dark-haired woman will appear to him, and he always asks her who she never says anything, but he always asks her like, who are you? And she always tells him the same thing, like, you know who I am. And for the longest time, he thought that maybe he'd had like when he was younger, he got a girl pregnant and she had a miscarriage, and he thought that maybe it was like his daughter that died in childbirth, right? And that like it was her like grown up or in the future or something. And I don't know. I didn't really think it was that, and I started thinking about it. And he had an out of body experience recently where he saw all these like cows, and it's specifically one large like black cow that looked at him, and he felt like it was intelligent, like he saw like intelligence in its eyes, and it was like trying to say something to him, but he didn't know what it was. And he also like recently has been getting like these like Egyptian tattoos, like he has a big like Eye of Ra like on his chest and stuff, and like a tattoo of Horus. And I was like, have you considered the possibility that she's like literally Hathor, like the Egyptian goddess Hathor, because she was like the cow goddess? And like, do you think that she's trying to form some kind of relationship with you? Like,
But what is that consciousness? What is that's talking to him? Is that a part of the collective? Is it an archetype?
Yeah, like what brought him to get the Egyptian tattoos?
He doesn't know. He just really likes the imagery.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did he mark himself with some kind of sigil that connected him to that energy, to that consciousness?
Or did he get it because somehow he knew that he had a connection to some sort of ancient Egyptian entity?
Or both. It's probably both.
Yeah.
It's probably both, and it's probably a paradox.
Yeah. Yeah, because we had to remember that in these states, like things like time don't work the same way they do in our physical level of reality.
Exactly.
It can happen, like you can have an effect before the cause when you're in these states,
Well, I heard it said over the summer. I don't remember where. I can't remember all the sources I hear this crap from, but this one group of people claim that the creation in our original form, whatever humans were before the fuckery, BF,
BF,
that we co-created together in Dreamtime or astral or Dreamtime specifically. So we all go to this unity Dreamtime. We co-create together, and those things then manifest in the physical. So if we're going to have any kind of experiment, that would probably be one to explore, where we all intend and focus on going to Unity Dreamtime and to create something here.
Yeah. I mean, do you guys ever have consistent places in your dreams? Like a consistent place that you've gone
Creepy
to?
houses.
Or like, is it the same house though? I mean, like the same place. Like you've been to the same place multiple times in a dream.
No. My dreams really, I either am doing some kind of op, which is interesting. I blow up a lot of shit. And or in a house with a woman who's familiar and comfortable, but I have no idea who it is. And it's always a house that's familiar in the dream, like it's my parents' house, but it's not my parents' house.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's all about.
What about you other guys? Do you guys have any consistent dreamscapes?
Nope, none at all.
Outside, just everything's outside for me. Like nature, yeah, like anything outside, like that always exists like that. For I don't know. Sometimes I mean it would be indoors, but mainly always outside.
Like every time I have this one specific place that I've been to in multiple dreams ever since I was a kid, and it's like a giant tower made out of like broken buildings and like trash and stuff, and it goes really high up in the sky, and part of the dream always involves me like climbing up it, and it's always like really rickety, like stuff will fall off when I'm trying to climb it, you know, and like I've never been to the top, you know, but I've had multiple dreams about this tower, and it's like it's one of the things that's led me to believe that like sort of your dream worlds are like real other places of existence. Like it's not like you're just imagining them or they're just from your head. Like you're literally going somewhere else.
Right.
Maybe you create them when you dream.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. But
The only place I've ever had that has always showed up my whole life
Mhm.
is this secret room. I always find all
Cellar
these
door.
secret passages, but there's always one that goes up to this almost tower where there's this room, glass ceilings, with light always shining in it, and it's like the most awesome place to like chill and rest.
Huh. That's interesting.
That's happened my whole life. I've always, and sometimes I don't find it. Sometimes I get lost in the secret passages.
What does it mean to you? Like, what do you feel like it is?
I have no idea.
It's just there.
I mean, it could mean so many different things.
Well, let's like a
Either way, it's definitely a safe space, for sure.
Yeah.
It's a space of healing.
Hmm.
I mean,
It's like
it's
you feel good when you go there.
yeah. It's always like a comfy place. It's a secret room that's comfortable with, that always has sunlight shining in.
So have any of you guys ever had a dream shared with another person?
Mm-mm.
Like you both were in the dream at the same time and both remembered it?
Nope.
Not that I know of. I don't know.
You, Ren?
One time when I was in 6th grade, I had a dream that I was with this big group of people, and for some reason there was like a volcano about to explode. Like there were like these alarms going off, and these two big groups of people were going into like two different buildings that I assumed were like shelters. Like there's one big building and one smaller building. And I went to the smaller building, and you know, it was like a huge rush of people. I was like in this middle of this group, getting pushed along. And I remembered I heard like somebody call my name from behind, but I couldn't see who it was because, you know, I was getting pushed along. And I went to this building, and like there was this huge explosion, and like the windows went dark, and then like the windows cracked and like burst, and all this smoke and dust like went into the room. And I remember like it burning my skin, but I lived through it. And I walked out afterwards and seen that the big building that a lot of people went into had actually collapsed. And when I was friends with this girl who had just moved to town, and we talked on the phone a lot. We'd gotten really close, and I started telling her about the first part of the dream, and then she was like, wait, hold on, I had almost the same dream. And this is before I really get into the details of the dream. And then I asked her what she saw, and then she goes on to tell me everything that happened in the dream without me telling her. Like, and she said that she was the person. She saw me up ahead and yelled my name because she was like trying to get my attention, and that's what I heard in the dream when I heard somebody yell my name from behind. And then she went into the big building and was like telling me how it collapsed, and there were like people who were like impaled on rebar and stuff that had fallen. And it was just like crazy because like she knew all the details without me having to tell her, almost like we had been in the same place that night, you know?
I forget who it was. I want to say maybe Kevin Rose. It was a guy talking on the Joe Rogan Experience maybe a year ago about how he had a buddy that had created a dream app in Silicon Valley, and that his early results in looking at the data from what people do, and essentially you would download this app, and then you would input notes of what you had in your dreams, and then this thing would go and gather keywords and things and put it together and try to see what people were dreaming. He said that there was a high correlation to people having the same types of dreams on the same subjects on the same nights. And that's really cool because I go, well, once that data starts getting thick enough, you can start proving across large swatches of people this interconnectedness between us beyond science. Here's what I'm going to do. You write down your dreams, you input them. Don't tell anybody about it. Just go and read what other people think. And you go, holy shit, last night, there was 487 other people in the United States that dreamed about this exact same event. Or maybe even more. How come everybody tonight's dreaming about ravens?
Mm-hmm. And it's not surprising at all. Like, I need to check on that because that sounds amazing.
Before 9/11, a lot of people were having plane crash dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, I would say that it might beg like the option of everyone talking more about their dreams, because right now we live in a society that really that's not commonplace. People don't talk about their dreams usually. But who knows what would happen if everyone started to. I think that would create a massive shift.
Well, you have the whole idea for like scientists and neuroscientists telling us that our dreams are meaningless and that our dreams are just, the junk of your day getting processed. And like that's so reductive and obviously not true.
They also say there's no ether and that magic's fake.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Exactly.
Well, it's people saying things, trying to apply a story to a world that they don't understand.
It's not only that, it's that they've been indoctrinated. The people who are talking now aren't the people who wrote this shit or came up with it. They're just the repeaters of it.
Yeah, when I look at the perception of the world, I've had some experiences a lot around migraines where my perception drastically changes of what the world looks like and my spatial reality within it. So when I look at dreaming, like when I get tired and I go to bed, I go off into dreamland. I don't remember my dreams hardly ever, but I'm off there experiencing something. And I look at the dream time being the same way. Well, if I was over there, instead of droning off and going down and falling asleep, what if I'm slowly going to the point where I wake up, that same opposite feeling? But you do the same thing. You don't remember this world. You don't remember that world, but everything is perception. My perception is my reality at this moment. So I refuse to believe that the dream time is anything other than a reality, because while you were experiencing it is real. They show with Olympians, and they do this with U.S. Olympians. One of the best ways to train is to train in your sleep, that you get the same types of benefits. You don't get the muscle growth per se, but you get the skills learned. You can do like running in your sleep and improve your running skill.
Yeah, that's something that people have talked about and with like dream yoga, or even Gordon White in his journeying series of videos in the member section of Rune Soup. One of the things you can do if you increase the amount of lucidity or ability to go out of body is that you can perform rituals in the astral, or do like magical working in that higher plane of existence, or even have an astral temple that you have like a ritual space that you can always go to do these things. And like how much more powerful being able to do it there is versus being able to do it in in our base reality.
I can't believe that people don't believe in the idea of magic and rituals and symbols, because everything in this world was created out of ideas in our minds. And if you think about the idea of what language is and what we need to define something, before I can even tell you what to do, we have to create a symbol, idea, and a thought. And that thing right there anchors something that we can share. And you and I could not build a rocket ship or build a computer on our own. We just no one person has the full technical know-how to do it, but we can create these symbols and these words and these numbers and these ways to describe things that we then pull out of the world this magical device or these devices that do things. And to me, that is all symbol magic. That is true fucking magic.
And that's where looking at our history gets really interesting, because I think at some point, all of that somehow got subverted on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Do you mean like the Tower of Babel or something else?
I mean, who knows what exactly it is, but either way, there's been a definite effort to
There's a war on
obscure
consciousness.
and
If you just look at
yeah.
what's happened with advertising, the
Yes.
amount of time that our minds are eaten up on menial tasks instead of actually advancing the species. I mean,
and
we
now
went through up
also
until
with
all the way through
the advent of
Industrial
technology
Revolution.
and the internet.
Yeah, everybody was kind of doing things to either, you know, I mean, sure, there was some getting out of the grind, but you were moving towards making things better on a global scale, and everybody thought that. Now, nobody thinks that anything is or could be getting better. It's all just trying to go into alternate realities and these, you know, other existences that are better than our own.
Right, when really our own is the only one, the only real reality. And granted, that reality is so much more than we realize, but it's the only real reality.
I tend to think about the idea of like sort of the yuga cycles a lot, and the idea that at some point in our past, things like magic and demons and stuff were way more physically real than they are today. Like, I mean, in the, you know, sort of Testament of Solomon, they talk about how Solomon built the temple with demons, and they don't mean that in a metaphorical sense. They mean like literally they would like pick up the blocks and put them into place. Like,
I'm fascinated with the idea of Laird Scranton and the Dogon and how they describe the universe. And that you have universes created in pairs, and that there's almost these bubbles that they move in and out towards each other. And as the membranes, as the cycles get closer, you have one universe that goes between having infinite knowledge and not being able to do anything, and another one that has no knowledge but the ability to do everything. And there becomes a point where they become closer and closer, and those roles start to switch and reverse within the universes. And that's kind of the state that we see ourselves coming back towards, that this change in consciousness, this change of things, is when the ultimate knowledge can start to influence the ones without the knowledge that can do things.
yeah, it's like
me?
when do we, I mean, Grant Morrison talked about this, and I think Terrence McKenna also, like, when are we going to get to the point where those different universes are overlapping to the point where things like magic become more real than they are now, or even, you know, like maybe once they get to a certain point, we become sort of like what Robert Monroe saw, you know, like beings with the ability to control energy and matter with our minds. You know, because
we can, and we know we can. The placebo effect, you know, they do these random number generators and these experiments with balls dropping randomly. We can physically change how they drop. We can change how our bodies react, our immune systems. Wim Hof can create energy out of fucking nowhere, you know, turn his immune system on. We have all these amazing powers, and we know we're there, but for some reason we've convinced ourselves that they don't exist, so most people don't turn the switch on.
But what if there's actually like a hard limiter on the ability for those things to manifest because of the cycle we're in? And once those cycles start to contract, like things like that become easier and easier for everyday people to do, and the people who already know how to do it become even like have even more astounding superpowers or ability to like change things, you know? Like it's sort of like, I imagine like Laird Scranton says, you have these, you know, two sides, and as they get closer together and more start to overlap, you know, maybe you have people shooting lasers out of their eyes at some point. Like, I don't know. Like, when does it get to the point where like magic is less probability manipulation and more like you're actually manipulating matter and energy on a, like, you know, instant scale, you know?
That's a good question. I think a big aspect of that is that we like this material reality. There's a big aspect of it that we like, and for a lot of people, we don't want to change it. Even people that are magical, there's, you know, a lot of leisure here. There's so many people that aren't even aware, but even people that are aware that want to keep it the same way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there's a lot of people who want to tell you that things like magic don't exist, and is it because they're on maybe some subconscious level they're feeling this contraction occur, and they're feeling like the cycles are getting closer together, and they're just trying to hold it off for as long as they can.
Yep.
Like,
or they're letting their belief systems get in the way.
Yeah.
And it's still, either way, it's a control system.
Yeah. Like, when do we get to the point, like, if you imagine in the distant past when people had legends about, unicorns and dragons and all that kind of stuff, what if they weren't just legends? Like, what if those things existed in a much more physical, tangible sense? Like, what happens when these cycles get closer together and it starts to contract and things like that start showing up in the world again? Not in like, somebody randomly sees a Sasquatch in the woods, but like Sasquatch become a reality of just being in the woods. Like,
it's
like
crazy.
someone finds a Sasquatch town.
Not odd, because if you look at I look at the technological physical world being the inverse of that, the manifestation of those things through the physical reality instead of through like the spiritual, the conscious reality, kind of shifting. And the fact that if you went back to a different era, the idea of, I thought about this, like thinking of a world without mechanics, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're surrounded by airplanes and roads and people driving by on bicycles and cars and gas stations and telephones, all these gizmos and gadgets. That is the same type of magic that we're talking about as seeing unicorns around. So it's,
and then before that, when you think about it, most of it was a direct connection with nature. We were forced to live that way at that point in time before these mechanics, before these modern marvels.
the modern marvels
to live
of trying
directly
to
with nature.
find food sources, and now we're working just to find cheap, shitty food. Meanwhile, you used to live in a world where amazing, nutritious food was everywhere. You didn't have to go to a gym to exercise. You just were fit.
Well, just wait until we get the fucking Shadowrun universe happening, like right here.
They already made a movie about it, so that Bright movie.
Oh god, that fucking Orc Cop movie. Yeah. But see, that's when the Native Americans are gonna fuck us up, because they're gonna get fucking magic powers back, and there's we're gonna be in for a world of hurt.
Imagine that world. We all wake up one day and we're all like superheroes.
It's also the world of magicians.
Oh, I love that.
Right?
I'm so
I mean,
I'm all caught up. I got one left.
Happening.
Is that show good? I've seen it all by
Love it, dude.
It's fucking awesome, dude.
It's fucking great.
I'll check it out.
It's exactly what we are if we had magical powers.
Have you guys?
Well, it's funny you said that, because I do have Native American.
Oh, there you go. Nomad. Once the cycles contract to the point where.
So that's what's up with you.
Your powers back. We're gonna be in fucking trouble. Have any of you guys been watching Dark?
I started watching it again.
I don't know what episode I'm on now, like 4 or 5, but I'm really, really enjoying it so far.
Kids from the past are getting time traveled to the future and molested and killed on the way.
Yeah. I'm all about the
I saw that. Yeah, I watched that whole one.
I'm all about the time travel shit.
Does sound dark.
It sounds like
they open that little door and they pass through that freaking thing.
I don't know if there's anyone's getting molested. I'm only 2 episodes in, but they look fucked up.
No, it's all related in the store. It's it's crazy.
And there's a machine involved, I think.
Like time travel stuff is like my favorite sci-fi trope, and it's like I just
mine too.
Have you seen Primer?
Yes. That's my favorite time travel movie. It's Primer.
Check out
the movie. And when you look at the schematic on Primer, you're like, I need a PhD just to look at this thing.
Yeah, no,
check out the show on Netflix called The Travelers. You might like.
I watched all of it.
It's about people who time travel back in time by sending their consciousness into living people temporarily.
Right before they die.
And is there any coincidence that all of these shows are coming out now?
It's so weird, yeah.
Right?
Here's the thing I would say. Because
the algorithms line up to what's happening, right?
Yeah, right. All these ideas are in the collective, and they're strong. So there's more ideas getting made into creative television shows.
I watched that The Beyond That flick.
Yeah,
that,
yeah. How was it?
It was good. It was like is
it worth watching?
Yeah. It's pretty. It's produced pretty well. I mean, the acting's so, but like it's basically has to do with taking a human brain and putting it into like not an AI body, but like a robotic
android.
Yeah, an android basically. Yeah, so what do you call that? Transhumanism. Yeah.
You've heard that they've now grown human brain cells inside of mice.
Who cares?
I don't know. I think I might have heard something about that.
I'll draw you a real quick correlation to why who cares. They've years ago, probably 4 or 5 years ago, they were able to grow rat neurons on a computer chip. They could only keep them alive for like 2 weeks, but they were able to get them to where they could drive a remote control car with sensors and start navigating rooms, brain neurons on a chip. So we are a step away from, at the very least, being able to put wetware onto a chip. Human wetware.
Crazy. It's crazy talk.
Yeah, and it's here. And that's what we know about, which means that in some government building somewhere, there's a quantum computer that's using the quantum tubes in our brain.
All right, guys. James Cruz has got to sign out. My youngest son's throwing up. So.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, he's definitely got a flu bug, and I got to put some gloves on and take care of this shit.
Go ahead.
How cold is it out? You got a garden hose, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's actually not bad today. I'm sure you experienced some warm weather.
That's right. Take off your shirt, open your mouth.
Yeah, let's just get them all cleaned up. But
here's some mouthwash.
It was fun, man. It was good hanging for sure.
Definitely. Take care, James.
Yep. Bye.
Good night, man.
Later, no man. Good hang, dude.
So I've had this theory for a while now that in my tiny universe model in my head, that parallel dimensions in the terms of quantum computing qubits are actually individual person subconsciouses. So when the quantum computer qubit needs that third bit, which is in that parallel dimension, I think it could be connecting to people's subconscious.
I agree. And
but
so in its essence, it's much more simple.
Consciousness in general.
I don't know. I think it connects to individual ones because I think individual ones generate those parallel realities.
But that's what I would say, like Adam just said, consciousness in general. It's much more simpler in its essence.
Okay. My thought process was that it first connects to the individuated portions and therefore gets access by that to the collective. So, I mean, that's the door that it gets into the collective. And in the collective, I think exists outside of time. It's what we call linear time. So therefore the quantum computing engine is therefore working outside of time as well. It just brings up some real interesting possibilities. Are we being mined for CPU power,
I think something like that is very probable.
Yeah, now marry that with an AI, what the fuck's going to happen? I hear, a lot of people talk about the event and, things, this big consciousness explosion going to happen. I really think what that is this singularity they talk about where AI becomes self-aware, but I think it's an AI on a quantum computer becoming self-aware.
My view, at the point that AI becomes something that we would be aware of, it would probably become so advanced so quickly that we would be dealing with orders of physics and things that we probably wouldn't understand.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we'd be looking at magic or even things that are affecting us that we don't get. It's things that are happening strange in society that are, I mean, think about this. Maybe there is some sort of conscious state that puts your brain into a better way of being a mind. And so it's manipulated the drug trade and the market in our society to have people hooked on SSRIs.
That's what demons are. But like I said, this thing exists outside of time. It could change timelines or influence timelines in the past. How would we experience that in the future?
See, the thing is, and it goes back to what Adam was
Mandela
just saying.
effects?
I think that we're going to become self-aware first. Or I like to think that at least.
We are.
And if there is an actual AI, then who knows what will happen at that point.
You can look at the other angle, too, that we are AI. And that the collective is the Borg.
Well,
and this
we are
awakening
manifest
from-
out of a world of nothingness. So we are created from whatever this is. I mean, yeah, that's how I view the world, honestly.
Okay, I don't view the world that way. I view the world as a projection that we made. That we're kind of
think that
same difference to me, which is going to sound weird to say, but yes.
No, I get it. I get it. I'm just taking. I look at it from the. We are the creators of this container, this play space that may or may not have been hijacked. That we may have created all these obstacles for ourselves to overcome.
That sounds right to me.
I heard this guy say that when we were God,
here, I think.
we were one. When we were this one consciousness, right? The only thing that existed throughout all time and space, that's all that existed. It's fucking boring.
We got bored. Yes.
Totally. And we made this playground that we can go into all the time over and over again, but we don't ever want to leave because it's fucking boring when we get out. So
if anything and everything is and can be possible instantaneously at all times, good, bad, and everything with no time, then it just is. That is a state of power. But if you divide it up and you can find harmony within those divided states, then you can find true. I mean, what we discover, what I consider happiness is when things are working together, people are working together, systems are working right, everything is cohesive and meshed, and even the parasite in your body is, giving your immune system a role.
Right. And if you look at it all in frequency, frequencies with harmony, there's noticeable, and then you have distortions, which manifest differently. If everything's frequency, then if you have a non-harmonic field, it's going to manifest as chaos. Ding.
What disturbs me is we're so destructive as a species on this planet that if I look at ourselves from this, where do we fit within the system? The cancers are always going to need to get removed. The things that are truly detrimental in the end will always get pruned. And so I kind of look at us going, yeah, we could be fucking everything up, but there's going to be something within the system that wants it to function efficiently. And we are being very efficient and doing a lot of damage. And something somewhere is going to decide to clip us. That's what I worry about. It's going to be the asteroid, the plague, the something that's like the idea that you have like these caribou or these animals that you put on a plot of land when you're reining them in for harvesting, and then all of a sudden the plants go, look, you're eating too much of us, so they create these tannins, and those tannins that when these animals eat them, it causes them such toxicity in their liver that they die. Murder, elimination. Like nature's going to do that to us if we don't clean up our act. Unless there's something that we're doing with AI or these systems that are making such leaps that even though there's a lot of damage, we're going to come out being a more positive state. Unless there's something in that plan, that's what I worry about. Like nature, giving us that 12,000 year impact.
Well, we're overdue for that. If that's real,
we are overdue. We're hundreds of years overdue. And what's scary, I don't know if you've seen how many asteroids and unknown objects we have coming through, all the increase in the meteor showers, the drastic increase in earthquakes over the last week and a half. Like literally there's probably 20 or 30 earthquakes that have popped up on my disaster app. Big ones too, like 6.5 in Mexico. And
I wonder if there's also today there was an earthquake that was preceded by a tsunami. Figure that one out. All right, I got to crash, dude. Thank you so much for having me.
Cool. Thank you, sir. Yeah, I got to get out of here within the next 15 minutes myself, too.
So it was, once again, a fantastic discussion.
Yeah, absolutely, guys.
Absolutely. Definitely. I should probably head out as well. It's getting
all right, cool. Well, I guess we'll call it here tonight. Websites or any information anybody wants to give out?
You can watch my show if you go to noxmente.com, NOXMENTE.
Does it stream live?
It streams live on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern, and all the archives are there. And my channel, which has moon videos and other crap, is JerryCthulhu.com. Or I think MaximumFuckery.com goes there too.
And I'll be on that on Wednesday, and then Ren the following, I think.
Correct.
And everyone should go to the Grimerica Discord chats.
Absolutely, we're all there.
Mm-hmm. No, Maximum Fuckery goes to my blog. That I don't write in anymore because I make videos now.
Hey,
and
Jerry.
Ren is in liminalroom.com. What?
Does Nox Mente, is it on iTunes?
No.
Oh, okay, that's why I'm not finding it. I was like, I should subscribe, but
I'm kind of broke at the moment, so when I'm not broke, I will sign up for something to publish it. My biggest problem is that I have such a backlog that I can't upload without paying an exorbitant amount of money.
No, but you know, you can through websites. I know like Squarespace offers free uploading of episodes. It can't handle a lot of traffic, I don't think, bandwidth-wise, but you should be able to upload it there and then log it through iTunes, subscribe for free.
yeah, or SoundCloud, I think, allows you to do it as well.
I have storage. It's not the storage space. It's like getting into Libsyn. You have to pay for how much you upload per month.
If you use Libsyn, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I think Squarespace will actually host audio files. I haven't used it yet, but I've seen that they do it. That they'll host podcasts now.
Okay, but yeah, you can find me at liminalroom.com, and I typically am a frequent roundtable guest on Where Did the Road Go? So if you want to subscribe to Where Did the Road Go on iTunes, or
Everything is demons.
yeah, I'm sure Soraya would appreciate that. But yeah, it was fun having conversation with you guys. I'm glad I caught the show.
Cool.
We're
yeah,
glad
and
to
check
have
out Where Did the Road Go with Ren, because it's really fucking awesome. Every time there's
Yeah,
a round table, it's always on the top of my list.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Mine too. All right.
Good chat, guys.
All right, and you can check out Nomad on the D&D streaming live with us all too, right?
Yes, GRIMSTEAK's channel.
That's right.
I have links to the past ones on my channel too.
Oh, cool. Well, they'll all be in the show notes here.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, it's been fun. Have a good night.
Have a
You
good
too,
night.
Adam. Take care.
And thanks, guys. It's been fun.
Last call for love, 18 and slipping away. Eyes are crystal like a window. Descry no future complications. I'll catch your psychic waves. Trace all the ley lines, knowing your intentions. An everlasting tension still. I'm waiting for a sign. Take this heart of mine
That's fucked and stupid.